The story of an ace pilot 2650, CH-26, personal talk. The battlecruiser, Radiant, has a number of small dining rooms for high-ranking aristocrats. The room and Schlier guided Kaisai and Saki towards one of those rooms. OHH, steak. It's been a while. Seeing the big steak on the plate, Kaisai raised a cheer. The steaming meat is giving off a very appetizing fragrance. I'm sorry about the synthetic meat. We are during wartime, so. No. Please don't worry. I don't mind even if it isn't organic. This is plenty enough for me. Anyway, I'm digging in. After he smiled and put his hands together, Kaisai immediately cut a bite-sized piece and put it into his mouth. The gravy overflowed from the piece of steak and it was seasoned with plenty of spices. One couldn't tell that it was made from synthetic protein from the taste at all. In this era, most of the products in circulation, be it meat or vegetables, are synthetic or genetically modified biofoods. Of course, natural organic foods taste better, but they have become extremely expensive in this era and are no longer something that you can have every day. Yup. It's delicious. Even if it's synthetic, this steak is really nice, isn't it? It's much more delicious than the meat I usually eat too. You are kidding, right? A mercenary with your level of skills should be raking in money, right? You should have plenty of money to eat organic meat every day, right? Saki teasingly smiles at Kaisai while wildly chomping down on her steak. There should be a lot of clients who would be willing to pay an exorbitant amount of money to hire a mercenary with superhuman skills like Kaisai. He should be even richer than some lower-class aristocrats, or so Saki thinks. No way. The meat I normally eat is the lowest grade one, you know. I don't have any money after all. His reply not only surprised Saki but Schlier as well, so the two reflexively looked at each other. At least in my case, I think that I have given you a reasonable amount as prepayment though. That. I don't have that money anymore. Did you use it all in a casino? Leaving a mercenary who has to maintain their own striker aside, a mercenary like Kaisai who jumps from battle to battle by himself should not be able to spend that amount of money in such a short time. It doesn't seem that he spent it all buying some precious ornaments or buying himself a spaceship either. Well, it's not like that. You see, I send it all back to my family. We are in debt after all. You did say something about the debt your dad left you, huh? What's that? I haven't heard anything about this at all. Schlier unpleasantly looked at Saki. Maybe he doesn't trust you enough to talk to you about it, right? Huh? Well, I don't want to spread my family's shame everywhere I go after all. There was no right timing to bring it up too. Also, please don't make me talk while I'm eating, Kaisai continued while narrowing his eyes. Well, that's true. It's a hard thing to talk about after all. I'm sorry, but can you tell me more about it? Of course, I will not tell others about this, I swear on my honor as a knight. With a little hesitation, Schlier decided to ask. She knows that it's a rude question, but she doesn't like that Saki knows what she doesn't. Also, she thought that she could help if his problem is a serious one too. I'm not really hiding this, so I don't mind though. What are you going to do about it once you know? That is the only question Kaisai has. Well, it's not that rare of a story, you know. My dad left us a huge debt and ran away. My sister had a supposed incurable disease that cost a lot of money to treat. That's where my money went. My sister was cured a while ago though, Kaisai continued with a smile as he brought another piece of steak to his mouth. However, Schlier couldn't return that smile. Why was your father the one who borrowed? Rather, what became of your mother? According to Volt common sense, men rarely make debts. After all, they don't have much opportunity to go out in the first place. The reality of Volt society is that there is not that much chance for men to interact with money. She died. Everyone in my mother's family is born with a weak body. My mother was no exception. Back then there were a lot of things going on with my family besides my father's debt, so she probably couldn't bear it and passed. So she was a single mother, huh? Are you an aristocrat? Terran's marriages are monogamy, so we do not have that many mothers like the Volts, you know. With Volts' highly biased birth rates, it is common for a normal family to be polygamous except for some high-ranking aristocrats. As a result, they usually have a lot of mothers. Sisters often share a single husband, so oftentimes due to a large number of children, they do not care which child is whose. That must have been hard on you. My condolences. Schlier almost dropped the fork in her hand. She gently adjusts her grip and puts the fork on her plate while taking a deep breath. Your Highness, is this not the time that you can show off your worth as a woman? Why, yes. I will consider increasing your reward. After all, you have brought us many unexpected results in this war. I will get in contact with our financial department and— Oh, please don't worry. I was already content with the agreed amount. As a pro, I cannot possibly ask for more. Please, there's no need to adjust my reward. No way. Schleer looks like it's the end of the world. It's a code of chivalry to extend your hand out for those in need, especially when the other party is a man. However, she can't help someone who refuses to be helped. If it's like this, then I will just have to support you all your life. Just what part of your brain led you to that conclusion? Completely forgetting his manner, Kaisai retorted. CH-27. The no-killing principle. But hey. The one who broke the awkward silence was Saki as she continued to play with the green pea on her plate with her fork. You are a nice guy, you know, paying back your parents' debt. Taking down your enemies by targeting the engine when you don't have to. All that. You didn't target the enemy pilots earlier too, right, Makishima-san? Saki bitterly smiles at Kaisai's words. It appears that even during the earlier fierce battle, Kaisai was paying attention to Saki too. I only do that when I think I can. I mean, it isn't like I prefer killing people after all. At least, I wouldn't actively aim at the cockpit, said Saki as she stabbed the green pea she had been playing with and brought it to her mouth. Still, I'm not as steadfast as you, okay? If I have no other choice, I wouldn't hesitate to target the cockpit. You are different, right? No matter what, you would do anything to leave the pilots unharmed. That's some guts you have, you know. Does that mean ... Even in the earlier battle, Kaisai-san was only targeting the engine too? Well, that's the case, but, with a fed-up expression, Kaisai turned his eyes away. Not only in this job, but his former employers had also complained about this as well. Although Vald is an aggressive race, they still hold senseless killing in contempt like Terran. However, it is still a fact that you would be endangering your comrades if you always worry about your enemy's well-being. That's why many don't like this particular practice of Kaisai. Kaisai-san, you. Of course, I do think avoiding senseless loss of lives is a virtue, but I don't think that it would be worth endangering yourself. Schleer looks worriedly at Kaisai. Well, I really can't do anything about this. After saying that in a tone that makes his answer sounds like an excuse, Kaisai continues eating his already chilled steak. Indeed, I don't aim for pilots because I hate seeing people die, but there's a reason why I hate it so much. A reason? Schleer asked nervously. I think I've told Makishima-san about this before. I actually read my opponent's thoughts through the icon system. That's how I can react to their actions during battles. The icon system is a type of brain-machine interface system that comes as standard equipment for every striker. Its functions are to read the pilot's brainwaves and interpret them as commands to the striker. Only Lieutenant Makishima again. Schleer broody muttered to herself, but there's no point going at Saki now, so she decided to endure it. You did tell me about that, huh? Saki replied without caring about Schleer. It was hard to believe for her at first, but after they survived an actual battle together, she can no longer deny it. So, if a person dies within the detection range of the icon system. Understanding what Kaisai's trying to say, Schleer involuntarily raised her voice. She already knows how ridiculously skilled he is, so if the reason behind his power is the ability to read people's thoughts, then it makes a lot of sense. Well, it doesn't just feel bad, you know. It's like a side effect of using the icon too well. Unless you are the type of person that doesn't care about other human beings, it just doesn't feel right. Now I don't feel like doing it anymore. Oi, Saki said with an extremely unpleasant expression. She took Kaisai's advice the other day and tried to focus her mind during the battle to see if she could detect any enemy thoughts. There's no positive result so far, but if that side effect is the price for such an ability, then she doesn't want to try so hard anymore. After all, being overly sensitive to others' death would be more like a debuff instead. No matter how strong you are, to enter the battlefield like that is— I don't even want to imagine it. Schleer and Saki look at each other. Only now, the two's thoughts aligned. Even so, there's no suitable job for me aside from piloting a striker. Also, it's not all bad, you know. Kaisai waved his hand at them as a gesture to ease their worry. It wouldn't do if they start feeling pity for him and keep him from piloting a striker. After all, the universe seen through the icon system is very beautiful, You know, the wills and emotions of people are so bright and colorful. It was like I was looking at the stars. It sounds more like you are on drugs instead, so can you not put it like that? I will get more worried instead. No way, Kaisai protested. Seeing him like that, Schlier sighs. Personally, she wanted to keep Kaisai away from the battlefield due to this side effect of his ability, but that is a luxury she cannot afford due to the current situation of her country. After all, without Kaisai's ability to turn the table on the Nord Empire, her country will end up destroyed. Let's stop talking about this. It would be a waste of a good meal after all. In the end, Schlier could only change the topic. Ch28. Refreshments. Having too good of a bed is a problem in itself. A few hours later, Kaisai woke up on his bed. He turns on his mobile terminal to check the time, but it appears that there is still plenty of time before they arrive at Liboya. Then, after disabling the alarm he set, which still hasn't gone off yet, he gets up from the bed. I can't get comfy if it's too fluffy after all. If he has to be honest, he still hasn't recovered from his fatigue yet. However, being accustomed to cheap and stiff futons, he couldn't get a good sleep with this ultra-high-class bed. So, he gets up and stretches his arms. Phew. After he took off his sleeping jersey and changed into his pilot suit, Kais headed to the door. He tried to operate the switch on the wall to open the door, but he stopped himself and frowned. Letting out a small sigh, he pulled out his mobile terminal again. Makishima-san. No. I guess I will contact Her Highness this time. From Kaisai's point of view, it is not good to trouble Schlier, who should be busy with her work as the commander of this fleet. However, considering her earlier mood when he interacted with Saki, it would be better if he doesn't always go to Saki alone. Why do I have to do all this just to leave my room? Since he already has her contact information, Kaisai sends a message to Schlier's mobile terminal. Awawawa, IT's here. Around the same time, Schlier, who was sitting in her command seat at the bridge, suddenly jumped up with her mobile terminal in hands, and all eyes inside the bridge gathered to her at once. What is it? Is it the enemy, Ma'am? Solana, who was by her side, went fully alert. However, Schlier answered her question with a cheerful smile. No, it's just a message. My first ever message from a man. Yahoo! Solana's expression turned terribly grim. Your Highness, we are in the middle of an operation. I'm sorry, but right now we still have free time, right? Currently, Radiant, is traveling in FTL navigation mode. It will take them some time to arrive at their targeted location, and there are very few ways to attack a ship mid-FTL flight. Since the strategy meeting and mission brief have already been completed, there's no problem even if Schlier leaves the bridge for a while. Can't be helped then. Please come back within an hour, Your Highness. Of course. Well then. Seeing Schlier sprinted away from the bridge at full speed, Solana let out another sigh. Damn it. So enviable. After a while, Schlier and Kaisai are making their way toward the hangar. Kaisai is pushing a trolley carrying a cardboard box with the word coffee written on it. Can I help you with that? Why? Kaisai was surprised at Schlier's sudden proposal. After all, she's his employer, and although hers is only a small country, she's still a princess. Why does someone like that offer to push a trolley so readily? I mean, as a knight, letting a man carry heavy luggage is a little ... Anyway, it damages my dignity as a lady. Well, before being a man, I am a mercenary ... Do you think there is a mercenary out there that would make his employer carry his luggage? Well ... I don't want our relationship to be so dry like an employer and employee though. When Schlier turned her eyes away and said that, Kaisai had a weirded out expression on his face. When she realized that she just dug her own grave again, Schlier decided to quickly change the topic. By the way, why did you buy that box of coffee? The box of coffee was purchased a few minutes ago by Kaisai at one of the ship's vendors. This vendor is run by a trading company that has special authorization by the government, not by the army. Each time they arrive at a port, they would purchase goods and stock them up to later sell them to the crews. It's just refreshment. I think that the maintenance crew should be about done with the Caliburn's maintenance after all. So it's for the maintenance crews. Have you been doing this every time you visit them? Well, it's not every time, but ... They are working on a strange modified prototype striker like their Caliburn Revive. aren't they? I think that it's not something that is easy to maintain. So originally, their Caliburn Revive was a non-combat striker that was forcibly remodeled and deployed in actual battle. From the mechanic's point of view, it must have been a nightmare to modify it correctly. Moreover, they will have to thoroughly check it so that strange defects do not rear its head during battle. Thinking so, Kaisai thought that he should at least bring them some refreshments as compensation for their hard work. I can't fly a striker if I don't have someone to maintain it for me, so I just want to build a good relationship with them. That's all. I see. So that's the case. Schlier nodded, a little surprised. Naturally, Schlier underestimates the contribution of those who work in the background like the maintenance crews. However, she has never given special care to them either. As expected of Kaisai-san. But I guess I shouldn't say that. After all, if I just noticed this after you brought it up, I'd already failed as their superior. Schlier sighs to herself. As a princess, it is important to show her dignity to her soldiers, but since the Kalantia Empire is but a small country, the distance between royalty, aristocrats, and common soldiers is much closer than in the Nord Empire. Perhaps, openly showing her appreciation toward her subordinates like Kaisai might be a good thing for her to do, Schlier thinks. I see. My apologies, I think I will head back to the shop for a bit. I ought to give them some refreshments myself. No, a princess handing out refreshments to her subordinates directly would be a little too inappropriate though. Is that the case? Realizing that she's being quite casual with her subordinates like Saki and Solana despite her standing as a princess, Schlier averts her eyes with cold sweat dripping down her back. Since her royal family is a small one, it's hard for her to act overbearing like the Norwegian aristocrats. In the first place, Schlier prefers the current status quo where her subordinates can be honest with her like this. Sometimes, rather than giving them something, it is better to just honestly say thank you. Giving your subordinates an appropriate amount of bonus is a different matter, okay? No subordinate likes a stingy boss after all. Why, yes, of course. Schlier hurriedly nodded. Thank you. Thank you. I understand. I will try telling them. That's the spirit. Seeing Kaisai answer her with a smile, Schlier's cheeks turned red as she nodded to him. CH-29, a worrisome striker. Ah, thank you. We are troubling you every time. One of the maintenance crew received a coffee can from Kaisai with a shy smile. She is the chief mechanic in charge of the Caliburn Revive, who explained its specs to him the other day. It's me who's troubling you a lot after all. Kaisai smiles and glances at their Caliburn Revive on the maintenance bay. As he expected, the maintenance had already been completed. Since it did not suffer any damage in the previous battle, all they had to do was replenishing the ammunition and fuels along with some standard maintenance checks. It worths all the hard work when you put it like that, the chief mechanic replied while shyly scratching her cheek. Next to her, a mechanic who's probably her subordinate opens the coffee can with a big smile. You said it, Chief. There are a lot of pilots who wouldn't appreciate our work and make fun of us after all. I'm glad that Hokuto-SN is not that type, you know. It does feel a little like we are taking advantage of your goodwill when you are being so kind to us though. While sipping on the coffee can, the chief mechanic shows a bitter smile. If you have a near-death experience because of poor maintenance work, then there's no way that you wouldn't appreciate the work of a good maintenance crew, you know. A near-death experience? If it's alright with you, can you share that with us? You see, for reference, feeling a chill running down her neck, the chief mechanic reflexively asked for more details. After all, in her line of work, poor maintenance is not the words that she'd ever want to hear. Well, it's not that rare of an accident, you know. I forgot to refill the coolant liquid and the valve got all clogged up. And there was this faulty seal I forgot to replace, so the coolant just started leaking. This happened when I was surrounded by enemies too. The chief mechanic's face immediately cramped up. The same reaction was shared among the mechanics who were listening to his story with great interest. And their reaction is reasonable. The coolant liquid works as a heat transfer fluid that collects the heat from various parts of the machine and circulates it to the cooling device, which will, in turn, circulate it back to regulate the heat of the machine. If it all leaks out, at worst, the phase transition turbine, which is the main engine, would literally go up in flames. What happened after that? A young mechanic nervously asked, and Kaisai could only smile bitterly at her. Fortunately, it didn't all leak out since the pressure was not that high, so I gradually made my way back to base. Honestly, I thought I was going to die back then. Well, the chief mechanic looks at Kaisai with hollowed eyes. In such a situation where the seal broke and coolant started to leak, no striker should be able to move properly. The chief mechanic was quite impressed that he managed to haul his striker back from the battlefield. That's why, you see, honestly saying ... I'm not very good with the brand new one-of-a-kind striker. You don't know what kind of technical problem will suddenly appear after all. Not to mention that the Caliburn Revive is a rush job remodeled striker which was put through actual combat after only one test flight. It is rather difficult to not feel anxious piloting it. It's okay! That's what we wanted to say, but we are actually pretty concerned about this too. At least, it would be nice if we can get more test runs, right Chief? A young mechanic voiced her agreement to the chief mechanic's concern. No matter how many times you run a simulation, there are problems that you will notice only when you actually pilot it. After all, to the maintenance crew, they honestly can't say that they are completely alright with putting such a striker in actual combat scenarios. So, if you found something strange, please make sure to tell me about it. When something goes wrong, it will make all kinds of differences if you know about it beforehand. After all, even if you say that if they notice those strange things, then they wouldn't have a hard time like this, the chief mechanic thought. Come to think about it, I'm kinda concerned about the regenerative armor. Certainly. When another mechanic brought that up, the chief mechanic concurred. Originally, their Caliburn Revive was only equipped with minimal armor to defend against debris. We forcibly installed the regenerative armor we prepared for the Excalibur to it. You see, we did some fitting already, but the charge might still flow to some unintended parts. Regenerative armor is a type of armor system that converts kinetic energy and heat of the shell beams into electric charge to minimize damage to the striker. Even a single beam can generate a lot of power on impact, so if it doesn't get managed properly, then the charge may cause damage to other equipment instead. I prefer old school, so I think that's going to be alright. I have a mindset that even a single hit can spell the end for me. After all, although the older models do have regenerative armor, the converted power would usually exceed the limit of the small capacitor. That's the reason why older models like their Jetta can be shot down with only one blaster beam. Well, there's no pilot that would want to get hit. After all, I felt this is irresponsible of me since I am in charge of the maintenance, but please do be careful. Of course. Kaisai obediently nodded. After all, he doesn't want to die. That's why he needs to take their advice seriously. Well, does any of you have anything else? Yes, I have one. A flippant mechanic energetically raised her hand. The chief engineer narrowed her eyes in hesitation for a moment before deciding to hear her out. What? Kaisai-san, what's your favorite type of W, ouch. The chief mechanic moved in and immediately strangled her subordinate. You, don't get carried away just because you haven't seen a man in a while. Ouch. That hurt, chief. When you meet such a cute man, it would be rude instead if you do not offer the courtesy right. Stop messing around already. I give up. Seeing the screaming mechanic, Kaisai let out a small sigh. At least he would be happy if she called him cool instead, but unfortunately, Kaisai is only 165 centimeters tall. He's shorter than your average Vuld woman. Even if he tries to sweep his eyes around to see if there's anyone shorter than him here, most of them are taller than Kaisai. Moreover, due to his natural baby face, he's often called cute by women. Is this sexual harassment? It is, right? The one who raised her voice during all that fuss was Schleer. When they arrived at the hangar, she took Kaisai's advice and went to see the mechanics in charge of her striker. The fact that she's here means that she's already finished talking to them. It's the sexual harassment princess. No matter how lax our country is on formality, there's still something that you should and shouldn't say, right? Schleer flared up at the flippant mechanic. I mean, Your Highness did quite a sexual harassment on Hokuto-san when he first arrived, didn't you? However, she was immediately betrayed by someone who she thought was her ally, the chief mechanic. Besides, Your Highness always tags along wherever Kaisai-san goes, aren't you? Is this not an abuse of power? It's too envy. I mean, it's just shameless. Let's call the MP here. Shut up. Let's go. Kaisai-san, perhaps seeing a bad flag as her subordinates started to gang up on her, Schleer hurriedly pulled Kaisai's hand and ran away. A burst of loud laughter can be heard from the hangar. Naturally, they were just teasing her. It appears that Schleer, who doesn't get angry when her subordinates teased her like this, is unexpectedly popular. CH-30. The Queen. The only planet in the Labour system, Labour Alpha, is a small planet covered in whitish rocks. Its gravity is extremely weak and its atmosphere is thin enough that it's practically a vacuum. Although it is a barren planet that is unsuitable for terraforming, its characteristics give quite a convenient environment for a space military base. How's our battle formation? At the bridge of the Glorious, flagship of the Kalanchian army, which has landed on the pure white plain of Labour Alpha, Queen Alicia Henrietta asked with a dignified voice. Her long shiny white hair and valiant expression are so beautiful that it's unbelievable that she already has a 20-year-old daughter. The first and second fleets have arrived at their designated positions. All ships are deploying. Active stealth. Ma'am. The active stealth device installed on Kalanchian ships are all outdated models, but it should be effective enough since their ships are hiding behind the planet. They have already predicted that the Norwegian fleets would rush straight to Labour Alpha and deploy their ground troops to try to take control of the base. Being inferior in terms of fighting power, the only hope the Kalanchian Empire has to win this war is to avoid frontal engagement and rely on guerrilla warfare. In that sense, the strategy the Nord Empire chose this time is convenient for them. Even so, our chances are not that good. While muttering to herself, Alicia looks at her available forces displaying on the monitor at her hand. 6 battleships and 14 large type cruisers. Even if she counts the third fleet, the number of fleets they have is only half of the Norwegian fleets. Their number is not nearly enough even if they take their defensive advantages into account. It's sad to say, but the only hope we can count on is a single mercenary. Alicia also received the report that Kaisai incapacitated one of the enemy's battleships. For the Kalanchian army that has been suffering a losing streak, it's the first good news in quite a long time. It is idiotic to count on a single soldier to change the tide of war between nations, but they have no choice but to place their hope on him. What about the forces outside our fleets? 300 strikers and 50 missile vessels of the based squadrons have arrived, Ma'am. The staff replied. In addition, 200 multi-legged tanks from the Planetary Defense Force have joined us as well. The bridge's front monitor displays crab-like metallic vehicles climbing the steep hill of Labour Alpha. All of these crab-like machines have a large turret mounted on their back. These weapons are called multi-legged tanks. Equipped with a fusion reactor, each of these tanks can traverse any terrain using their legs and anti-gravity lifters. They can be used not only in a 1G environment but also in low-gravity environments like this planet. Since their mode of mobility relies on their legs, they are significantly slower than strikers. However, this is compensated by their superior firepower. They are quite reliable in a defensive battle. I see. We have enough. That was a lie. This is far from enough. However, she cannot make herself look weak in front of her subordinates. So, she half forces her face to smile. What about the enemy? It wouldn't be strange if their scouts are here already. It's no use, Ma'am. Our sensors cannot pick up anything from the surrounding star systems with this much jamming signal. They strengthened their jamming to counter the Third Fleet's reconnaissance. Certainly, the enemy seems to have a fairly powerful electronic warfare cruiser. Remembering her previous battles, Alicia moans. There were a number of battles where their search and communication capability were compromised and they've lost even before they can make heads or tails of the situation. Judging from this, the Norwegians' capability of electronic warfare is quite high. Still, we have the advantage of the land. Once the battle begins, we shouldn't fall behind that much. The fortified Labour Alpha already has a wired communication network for the entire planet. If they link this communication network with a communication method that cannot be easily jammed like laser communication, no matter how strong the enemy jammers are, they should be able to coordinate their army. However, we still do not know when they will launch their attack, Ma'am. Should we dispatch a recon unit? No. Even if we send out a recon unit, the enemy will just shoot them down. We cannot afford to lose our fighting power any more than this. Tell the pilots to stand by for scrambling. Roger that. The staff did not protest and acknowledged her order. However, her expression is anxious. If the Labour system is taken, the Kalanchian Empire's defeat would be certain. Conversely, Telling them to relax would sound unreasonable. Instead, is my striker ready to deploy? At any time, Mom. Good. Depending on the situation, I will head out myself. In the worst case scenario, she may need to take command at the front line herself. No army can recover if their morale is broken. Still, if it comes to that, it might be too late already. Alicia thought to herself and let out a small laugh. If Miss Ha is here, she would be able to take that role for me. Well, there's nothing I can do about that. Miss Ha is Schlier's sister. She is both an excellent commander as well as a great pilot. If Miss Ha hops on a striker and commands the front line, she would surely do a better job than Alicia. However, unfortunately, Miss Ha was seriously injured in the previous battle and she is now being treated at the hospital in the capital. There is no danger to her life, but she cannot possibly return to the front line in her current state. Alicia has many daughters besides Miss Ha and Schlier's, but the two are the only daughters that have any talent for warfare. That's why Alicia has no choice but to go to the front line herself. Well, for the time being, there's nothing we can do but wait. The moment Alicia said that, the operator in charge of the detection network shouts. The reconnaissance satellite detects high-mast reactions. They are exiting FTL navigation, Mom. Judging from the number and size, there's no doubt, it's the enemy's main force. They're here. Regardless of the jamming signal, if it's within the same star system, their detection network would naturally work. Hearing the report, Alicia sprang up from her command seat. They immediately sent in their main force. It seems they are planning to go all out from the start. How long do we have until contact? 20 minutes to contact. They exited right between the connecting sector and the closest route to Laboya Alpha, Mom. The connecting sector is the space suitable for entering and exiting FTL navigation. Since FTL navigation can be strongly affected by gravity, it is necessary to operate the FTL drive in a specific sector at the outer edge of star systems for safety's sake. Once you arrive at your designated star system, what you will use instead is the sublight speed means of traveling, which has the FTL technology applied to modern warships. A small star system like this is but a small garden. This means that the enemy fleets will arrive at Laboya Alpha in no time. They aimed for this timing since they planned a surprise attack on us from the start. Prepare for combat. Alicia loudly yelled out her command. However, some of the based squadrons and planetary defense forces have just arrived at Laboya Alpha. It would be difficult to get them all ready for combat in just 20 minutes. The third fleet. No. Can't Schlier get here soon? God. Alicia prayed in her heart. CH-31. Battle of Laboya. 1. Fuma. All according to plan so far. Diarose looks at the topographic map of Laboya Alpha as she plays with her whip. Currently, the Noridian fleets are in the high orbit of Laboya Alpha. There is not even a shadow of their enemy so far, but it is clear that the Kalanchen is hiding their forces on the surface of the planet. Your Highness, what do you think of this? What do I think? Isn't that obvious? The enemies are inferior to us both in terms of quantity and quality. The only strategy they can afford right now is guerrilla warfare. With her arms crossed, Diarose answered her subordinate with a stern expression, as though to ask why her subordinate raised such a stupid question. If that is how they are going to play it, then our course of action is already decided. Crush them head on. Do not give them any chance to gain the initiative. We are going to thoroughly destroy whatever it is they are planning. Saying so, she pointed at Laboya Alpha depicted on the main monitor with her whip. Advance my ship forward. Have the other ships stand by in the rear. Tell them to be ready to move at my command. Do you plan to make yourself a decoy, Your Highness? The flagship, Adele Vanson, is a large battleship belonging to the Noridian imperial family. It is a very noticeable ship since it is painted in black and gold, unlike the other Noridian ships which are painted in red. To lead the charge with such a prominent ship would be like asking the enemy to focus fire on them. Of course, the bigger the prey, the bigger the bait has to be. Their plan is to hide and earn as much time as possible, right? It would be beyond foolish to search each and every rock on this planet one by one to find them. From orbit, it's impossible to find the well-disguised Kalanchen fleets. Normally, they would have no other choice but to descend their fleet and search the planet from up close. However, in this era, the basic of surface orbit warfare is that the higher you are, the more disadvantageous you will be. The reason being that you would have nowhere to hide and the enemy would be able to spot you easily. That's why in such a surface orbit battle, the invading force must descend close to the surface. Still, with the risk of collision with the surface, the ship's speed must be greatly reduced, making them vulnerable to artillery fire. Besides, it doesn't matter even if this ship gets hit by their artillery. This, Adele Vanson, is equipped with special armor plates, you know. Obviously, I'm going to use it. My apology, Mom. Intimidated by Diarose, the subordinate scurrilly apologized. Her voice was very beautiful, but it also held the violent tone that made it sound like the listener could be struck by her whip at any time. To put it more directly, her voice was one that does not allow her subordinates to defy her. If you understand that already, then hurry up and get us close to the surface. A stray dog is even more valuable than soldiers who can't even obey their orders. All right. Yes, Mom. Ridrazes, reverse thrust 30 seconds burn. Ridrazes, reverse thrust 30 seconds burn. The helmsman repeated the command of the captain, and every thruster of the Adele Vanson fired reverse thrust to decelerate. The surrounding ships started to withdraw behind as their Adele Vanson slowed down to surface speed. Just like that, they slowly descend, and the Laboya Alpha underneath appears to gradually grow larger, arriving at Laboya Alpha's periapsis, altitude 30,000 feet. We are estimated to be within the enemy artillery range now, Mom. TLN. Periapsis equals the point in an orbit of X that is closest to X's body. Decelerate. Maintain altitude at 30,000. Load the main cannons with HE rounds. TLN. E equals high explosive. The main thrusters of the Adele Vanson emit a faint jet flame and immediately turn silent. Since Laboya Alpha's gravity is very weak, only a minimal amount of thrust is required to accelerate or decelerate on this planet. Now then, the rest is just waiting for them to bite the bait. Fortunately, it appears that they do hate me quite a bit. The impatient mongrels will probably show themselves soon. Kyukaku, Diarose said with a fearless smile. Then after a short moment, her prediction was proven to be correct. Extreme heat signal detected. Incoming enemy fire. After 10 minutes of waiting, the operator in charge of enemy detection shouted in a tense voice. And faster than the captain could issue the evasive command, a green beam hit the hull of the Adele Vanson. However, the beam could not penetrate the Adele Vanson's armor, and only its paint was burned. The ship displays its great defensive capability that is worthy of Diarose's trust. Alright, find out the point of origin. Since they were deploying their sensors at full power as they were intending to act as a decoy from the beginning, they immediately found out where the enemy's shot originated from. A telephoto image captured by the ship's optical camera is being displayed on the monitor. The image depicts several strikers equipped with a huge artillery unit that is even taller than the strikers. Its muzzle is aiming at their Adele Vanson. TSK, just the mobile artillery units. Whatever, they should not be that far apart from each other. Notify all ships to descend on this location. There, Adele Vanson will return fire. We will land once we are done providing covering fire for the other ships. Yes, Mom. Main cannons, take aim. With the altitude control thrusters fired, the giant hull of the Adele Vanson turns at a speed that doesn't match its size. The muzzles of the 4 triple turret composite guns turn toward the location of the enemy artillery strikers. Aiming completed. All guns open fire. Following the captain's command, all main cannons fired at once. What they fired were not beams but physical shells. In this era, all battleships are equipped with composite guns which function as both blaster and linear guns. And for the convenience of resupplying the ammunition for these guns, it is customary that the blaster output and the shell caliber of the composite gun are the same. In the case of the Adele Vanson, its main cannons can fire 50 MW blaster beams. In other words, they were also built to fire 50 cm shells. Phew, crushing the enemy is pleasant as always. Naturally, the Kalanchian strikers which received a salvo from their Adele Vanson disappeared without a trace. The location they were at is now reduced to a large crater. But this is not enough. Entertain me more, Kalanchia army, said Diarose with a cruel smile. CH-32. Battle of Laboya. 2. Who ordered them to shoot? Who? Queen Alicia was furious. The essential part of their plan is to keep the enemy in the dark about their whereabouts as long as possible. Since their force is much smaller than that of the Norwegian army, the Kalanchian side deployed their forces densely together. Now that the enemy has predicted their location, the Norwegian fleets would descend right next to them. I already gave my order. Why did they shoot? Our soldiers bear a lot of grudge against the enemy general. Against Dia Rose. They probably couldn't let the chance go when she came out to the front line unprotected. Unprotected? That's obviously a decoy. Do you think we have a weapon that can pierce through that battleship at this distance? No, Mom. The staff haggardly replied. Then, another staff member, who was beside Alicia, speaks to her with an impatient expression. Your Majesty, some of our units still haven't finished deploying yet. If we cannot buy more time, then they will not be able to fight. I already know that. The based squadrons and the Planetary Defense Force were transported here by the slow civilian transport ships. Since they arrived late, it will take some time before they can get into battle formation. If they are attacked when their preparation still isn't ready, they will not be able to put up a proper fight. Tell the troops at the front to withdraw. We cannot afford our forces to get taken down one by one. Have them man the defensive equipment at the bases and redraw the line of defense. Tell the fleets to withdraw too. Alicia gave her order. However, her subordinates in the field are in no condition to accurately obey her order. There's too many. We can't handle them all alone. Retreat, retreat. With the darkness of space in the background, a large number of Crimson Strikers land on the chalky surface of Laboya Alpha. The standard striker of Kalanshia, their Claymore, could not put up a proper fight with the enemy raining blaster beams upon them. We need to disperse the enemy attack. I will lure them away. You use that chance to retreat. That's too much for you. With this much firepower, you won't last even with a shield. If I'm scared of this much, then what kind of woman would I be? I'm going. Stop, you idiot. With two large shields in both hands, A. Claymore fired its thruster and dashed forward. In response, the enemy concentrates fire on their Claymore. The girl who tried to stop her comrade had to make a decision while gritting her teeth. After all, she cannot waste this chance that her friend created for them. Everyone, on me. Saying so, she lightly fired the thruster and started retreating. Since the gravity of Laboya Alpha is weak, you will have to be careful on the thruster output if you don't want to accidentally fly up to the air. Following her, her ally strikers also fired their thrusters in the same way. Almost at the same time, the shields of the Claymore, that acted as a decoy for them, completely melted away. Then, after several blaster beams penetrated, their Claymore exploded. I told you. With the explosion in the back, the girl pilot muttered in tears. However, she doesn't have the luxury to be sad right now. Fortunately, the surface of Laboya Alpha is filled with craters and rugged terrain. If they can use them as cover, they should be able to put up a decent fight. For the time being, we need to reduce their number as much as possible. She glanced at the map displayed on her monitor and gulped some saliva down. She then stepped on the pedal and accelerated her striker. Naturally, the Norwegian side spotted her and fired their blaster rifles and machine guns to prevent her from getting away. She and her comrades managed to avoid the attack using the terrain as cover. The Kalanshia pilots had already crammed the terrain information of this planet into their heads. Although they did not have much time to prepare, the geographical advantage still lies with the Kalanshia side. Our preys are running away. Don't let a single one of them escape. Just shoot at their backs. It's your chance to get some target practice. With the advantages on their side, the Norwegian pilots started their pursuit. Even if they cannot snipe them down from a distance, taking these Kalanshia strikers down from up close is also an option. There were even some that sheathed their rifles and pulled out their swords. All right, they followed us. However, it went according to the girl's plan. As she approached the open space, she immediately dashed to the side with her comrades in tow. A moment later, the Norwegian strikers arrived. They all point their rifles at their claymores, to give them a finishing blow. Fire. However, at the same time, another unit that was hiding in the nearby mountainous area released their optical camouflage. 6 Gradius KIs, and 3 large mobile cannons each operated by a striker appeared from their hiding. They opened fire with the mobile cannon, sending a 20 centimeters HE round right to the middle of a large group of the enemy jetters. The HE round exploded before it made its impact and sent numerous self-forging fragments in all directions. What came after was a huge explosion. TLN, self-forging fragments are armor-piercing shrapnels. We did it. When the smoke cleared, the only things left were the wreckage of the enemy strikers. As she was briefed with their troop placements beforehand, The girl lured the enemy to the location where their mobile artillery unit was lying in wait. With a small victory obtained, they all rejoiced. However, immediately after, a fierce explosion incomparable to the previous one occurred at both theirs and the mobile artillery unit's positions. They did not even have time to scream as their entire unit was wiped out in an instant. It was artillery fire from the enemy battleships which obtained their location from their frontline units. Even with no clear line of sight, they can use the small gravitational pull of Leboyer Alpha to perform long-range bombardment. This shows that even the Norwegian combat support is top-notch. Suppressing fire on point A304, establish a bridgehead and watch out for the surroundings. TLN. A bridgehead is a strong vantage point seized in hostile territory. With not a shred of carelessness, the Norwegian striker units that follow march on with their rifles in hands. The battle has just begun. CH-33, Battle of Leboyer. 3. A giant metallic crab-like machine is climbing up a steep snow-white slope. Thanks to the stability provided by its 8 legs, the powerful thrust from 2 thermonuclear rocket engines, and the gravity manipulation using an anti-gravity lifter, the multi-legged tank is an excellent ground combat weapon. This is bad. This is bad. This is so bad. If you have time to make those noises, then hurry up and fire back already. However, even with all of its excellent capabilities, it doesn't mean that it is invincible. When receiving attacks from all directions, while avoiding the attacks from the surrounding Norwegian strikers, the 2 female tank crews' faces turned blue. Shit, hit, damn it. The muzzle of the 15.5 cm composite gun which serves as the main weapon of the multi-legged tank flashed. It is currently set to fire blaster beams. A thick beam flew toward an enemy jetter, but it was easily avoided. You suck. Can't you aim any better, Maho? Even with the assist from FCS, do you think hitting something while traveling at 180 km/h is easy? TLN. FCS stand for Fire Control System. The swearing voices flew inside the tandem cockpit of the multi-legged tank. Several beams from the enemy blaster rifles hit the side of the tank, leaving its armor charred. The beams did not penetrate the tank's armor, but if they are shot again before they can discharge the previously absorbed energy, the regenerative armor will not protect them this time. After all, with the capacitor already at full capacity, even this sturdy tank cannot escape destruction. This is number 4. We are in a bad place right now, Mom. Can we expect any reinforcement soon? Every area is in the same shoe. There's no way that there would be any reinforcement, right? They contacted their captain, who is also maneuvering her own tank nearby. However, the reply they received was merciless. Moreover, with the communication network still online, the captain was forced to listen to the desperate report from all her subordinates. Anyway, our job is to delay the enemy's advance as much as possible. We need to buy more time. That's easier said than done. When they were in the middle of such a conversation, a large caliber He round fired from the Norwegian mobile artillery landed next to tank number 4. Although it managed to escape destruction, the tank was blown several dozens of meters into the air. Oh, Sheila-chan, wake up. If we stop moving, we are going to die. The gunner, Maho, hits the girl in the front seat to try to wake her up, but her eyes are still dilated from the concussion. Then a lock-on warning rang inside the cockpit. Grasped by fear, Maho lost control of her bladder. No. I don't want to die. Seeing an enemy jetter mercilessly firing its blaster cannon toward them, Maho tightly shut her eyes. However, the crimson beam was offset by a green beam fired from somewhere above them. Another shot was then fired in quick succession, and it pierced through their Jet-2's blaster cannon. What? Noticing the strange situation, Maho opened her eyes and looked up to the sky. A pure white striker with a pair of blade antennae that are giving the impression of rabbit ears was flying above them while carrying a blaster rifle with one hand. Caliburn revive. Maho dumbfoundedly muttered the name of the strange striker sent over from the data link. No one's going to die, as long as I'm here. A male voice could be heard from the wireless communication. Forgetting even to say thank you, Maho's eyes widened in surprise. After all, a man's voice is something that is impossible to hear on a battlefield. Kalanchia Zenith. When did it get here? The Norwegian is also confused by the sudden appearance of this intruder. Some strikers reflexively fired their blaster rifles at him, but every shot was deflected away by the photon saber. Time for payback. Shit. All units break away. When Kaisai floored the pedal, there, Caliburn revive, immediately accelerated. The group of jetters that was aiming their rifles at him in formation immediately scattered. Even if it's an unknown striker, all pilots understand without any need to be told that when a zenith charge at you, you run. However, as they moved out of the way, the blaster beam that Kaisai fired accurately found its way to one of the jetters' abdomen. There, Jettu's abdomen was pierced and it rolled to the ground with black smoke rising from it. Suppressing fire. Don't give it another chance to attack. Following their captain's command, the Norwegian strikers opened fire at the Caliburn Revive. Alright, this is good. After glancing at the position of the Kalanchen tank corps, Kaisai grinned. Then, despite the storm of bullets, Kaisai kicked off the slope and zigzagged his way toward the enemy while avoiding everything. The sniper custom jetter holds up its long barrel rifle and takes aim. After a careful aim, it fired a high-energy beam toward Kaisai. The crimson beam accurately flies toward the Caliburn Revive. However, the accurately aimed shot instead caused a disaster for them as the beam was deflected by their Caliburn Revive's photon saber and penetrated her captain's striker on the abdomen. Is that even P? The sniper shouted in surprise, but her striker soon followed the same fate as it was hit by a blaster beam Kaisai fired in response. We are withdrawing. There's no use going against a zenith. Don't be stupid and get yourselves killed in a winning battle. Hurry up. Sensing Kaisai's extraordinary skill, the Norwegian pilots hurriedly withdrew. Kaisai did not give chase. Instead, he went back to assist his allies. Are you injured? If your tank is disabled, then come out. I will escort you back to a safe place. Kaisai talks to the tank crews of the damaged multi-legged tank. We are okay, sir. Maho replied in a high-pitched voice as she hit Sheila, who was still unconscious in the driver's seat, to wake her up. By the way, may I ask for your name, age, and your preference? Why did you suddenly ask him that, you idiot? The captain's loud voice can be heard from the communication channel after Maho, who perhaps due to her dazed state, suddenly asked such idiotically inappropriate questions. My apologies. I will reprimand her later. We can withdraw on our own here. Please go on ahead. Our allies are having a hard time everywhere after all. Yes. Well then, take care. Even Kaisai understands that they are currently in a tight spot right now. He nodded at the captain's words and accelerated away. Captain Tilda, shut up. Hurry up and get moving. He just saved your life. Do you plan to waste it? Hearing that, Maho remembered the fear she felt earlier. You, understood, Mom. Sheila-chan, let's go. You stupid Maho. You don't have to be so rough. The multi-legged tank stood up and started withdrawing by blowing its thrusters. CH-34, Battle of Leboya, 4. Mother. No, Your Majesty. I apologize for our belatedness. The Third Fleet is here to join the front line. No. Without the information you obtained, we wouldn't have been able to intercept them here. You have nothing to apologize for. Alicia responded to Schlier's apology with a solemn voice. Schlier is currently not at the bridge of the Radiant, but inside Miss Tiltwine's cockpit. As this is a big battle, Schlier put herself on the front line from the very beginning. The fact that Alicia is in command of the overall battle also played a big part in her decision. Right now we must rebuild the front line. I need the Third Fleet to assist our soldiers in their retreat. Understood. Please leave this to us. Schlier had already deployed her troops with that intention from the start. After disconnecting the communication, Schlier looks around to see the state of the battlefield. Due to insufficient preparation, her allies are all being routed. They need to do something to stall the enemy's advance. Your Highness, is he really going to be okay? The voice came from there, Dainsleif, that is deploying nearby. She's asking about Kaisai. When they arrived at the Leboya system, Kaisai flew out to join the battle immediately. She did try to stop him, but due to Kaisai's assertiveness and the worsening war situation, she had no choice but to allow him to sortie. We can detect his signal nearby. He's not that far away, so we should be able to join up with him soon. Thanks to the communication equipment installed all over the planet, they have the data link established. They can check on Kaisai's status and position any time they want. However, Schlier is still worried. That man is someone who can calmly plunge himself into the middle of the enemy position with a single machine. Naturally, he has more than enough skill to handle himself in such a situation, but from the outside, something like that still looks dangerous. Thinking so, Schleer kicked the ground and flew off to join Kaisai. There he is. Around 10 minutes later, Schleer and Saki finally found their Caliburn Revive, fighting against a large group of jetters. Despite being in a one versus many situation, Kaisai is gradually pushing back the enemy strikers while jumping and accelerating around them. Kaisai-san, we are here to back you up. Schleer aims the blaster cannon on Mr. Twine's shoulder at an enemy striker. The thick blaster beam accurately hit an enemy jetter, blowing away its lower body. Its remaining upper body was sent rolling on the ground, generating a cloud of white dust. I've been waiting for you. I mean, this number is too much even for me. Kaisai responded cheerfully. Most of the other allies are already giving their all into retreating, so they cannot afford to provide any support. Even with just Schleer and Saki here, he couldn't thank them enough to get some help here. It's because you flew off by yourself, idiot. You could say that. Kaisai replied to Saki's jab with a smile. Seeing his unremorseful attitude, Saki sighs. However, right now their priority is to stop the enemy here. So, Saki fired her thrusters at full power and immediately closed in on an enemy jetter with the Dainsliff 3. We can't deal with 3 zeniths at once. Too late for that. An enemy jetter tried to retreat, but it was cut in two by a single swing of the electromagnetic slash. TSK. Another jetter was readying its blaster rifle to intercept Saki, but it was immediately incapacitated by Kaisai, who shot a blaster beam at its abdomen. We can't deal with this alone. Where are the aristocrats? We've been calling them, but they said they are not coming. They want us to do something about this ourselves. If they are going to flaunt their power at every opportunity they have, then can't they at least be useful in a time like this? Cries of agony were raised from the Noridian side. When he spotted a slow-moving jetter, Kaisai kicked off a slope and jumped at it. There, jetter holds up its shield to try and defend, but Kaisai activates the anchor on the sole of their Caliburn Revive's foot to make a sharp turn and thrust the pile bunker to their jetter's side. The surrounding jetters keep shooting at him with their blaster rifles and submachine guns without worrying about their fallen ally, but Kaisai skillfully dodges them all and jumps up again. I heard that there are rabbits on Earth's moon. This must be what it means. Seeing Kaisai, Saki says that with a bitter smile. Certainly, the white color and the blade antennae really make their Caliburn Revive give the impression of a rabbit. But what he's doing right now is more like a tiger hunting its prey rather than a rabbit though. Rabbit. I heard that some people eat them, but I never knew that rabbits are such ferocious creatures. Schleer, who has no connection whatsoever to Earth, did not seem to know what kind of creature rabbits are, so she gave a strange reply. Well, I've never seen a living one before either. Saki said so and shrugged. During that time, Schleer fires her heavy machine gun at another jetter unit that came as reinforcement while sulkily pouting her cold lips. Although she didn't hit anything, the enemy reinforcement was forced to stop for a moment in fear of the flood of blue tracer bullets. And as though he was aiming for that chance, Kaisai fires his blaster rifle in rapid succession, taking out 3 of the newly arrived jetters. What a great aim! While looking at Kaisai, who fired his sub-thruster to retreat to the nearby rock and reload his blaster rifle, Schleer muttered in a tone that is a mix between admiration and bitterness. She has confidence in her shooting skill, but she knows that she can't possibly get anywhere close to his accuracy. No good. If this keeps up, let alone protecting him, I will be the one that will be protected instead. While murmuring to herself in a small voice, Schleer clenches her teeth and aims at another enemy striker. Despite the fact that they have been taking down striker after striker, the enemy reinforcements keep showing up without end. The battle has just begun. Previous chapter. CH-35 Battle of Le Bois 5. The 805th and 808th Striker Regiments have withdrawn. The offensive at Point C-707 is a complete failure. Viscountess Kazumi was shot down. It's Hokuto Kaisai, Mom. Baroness Master was also shot down by Hokuto Kaisai, Mom. Again? And 2 at the same time. How many aristocrats have been shot down by that man now? Diarose held her head as she listened to the headache-inducing reports from her subordinates, including Rosia-sama. He has already shot down 5, Mom. Forbid every aristocrat from challenging that man alone. It will damage the overall morale. It had already been an hour since the Noridian side received the report that the enemy Third Fleet had joined the battle. They had been overwhelming the Kalanshan before their arrival, but for a while now, Only worrisome reports came through the communication channels. When they received the news that 3 of the Kalanchen Zenith had been wreaking havoc on the front line, the aristocrats who served as commanders went out to deal with them, but they were all shot down by Kaisai. If this continues, they will not be able to maintain the morale of the commoner soldiers. Why, Your Highness, Countess Kurtova has just been shot down. It's Hokuto Kaisai again. Damn it, does my army have tofu for strikers? Diarose looked up at the sky and let out a loud sigh. She then takes a deep breath to calm her mind. If she gets upset now, she will end up losing a winning battle. And as a matter of fact, they are still winning the overall battle. That's why she told herself to not get worked up so much. Sushi, bring me some sushi. Meguro's fine. Why, yes, Your Highness. Right away. The Chamberlain stood up and quickly left the bridge. She returned after a while with a plate of Meguro sushi in hand. Diarose is a fish connoisseur. In order to meet her unusual requests for fish dishes, she always has a group of dedicated chefs on her ship. Diarose elegantly picked up the sushi and lightly seasoned it with soy sauce before bringing it to her mouth. Her cheeks relaxed a little at the taste that met her standard. Now her mind is being healed. The super luxurious ingredient was delivered to straight her by a high-speed ship to maintain their freshness from Aomori, Earth. The rice used in the sushi is also organic Koshai Hikari rice. Let alone commoners, even high-ranking aristocrats are unable to obtain such ingredients. If Schleer was here, she would have already felt tremendous bitterness from the difference in their national power. While she was enjoying her sushi, a communication came in from Valentina. Seeing her little sister's face on the monitor, Diarose directed an unpleasant gaze at Valentina. What are you eating during a battle? However, the unpleasantness is also shared by Valentina as she directed her gaze at Diarose's hand. Sushi. Eating such a thing in front of your subordinates in the middle of a battle is unseemly. At least during battle, it is Valentina's belief that she should partake in the same meal as her subordinates as much as possible. Eating something that is hard to come by like that will only cause uncomfortable feelings to those under their command. Even if it's against their subordinates, it is still unwise to sow seeds of discord over food. I'm supplementing myself with EPA and DHA. They sharpen my mind. Is that so? Although she still remains unconvinced, Valentina doesn't say anything more on the matter. After all, if she lost herself in her sister's pace, she might lose the chance to address her intended topic. By the way, I heard that man has appeared. Yeah, he's been doing whatever he wants for a while now. Diarose slowly finished her sushi and replied, so that's the case after all. Anu, please allow me to deploy. I will definitely stop him for you. No. What are you, a fool? When Valentina bowed her head and asked for permission to deploy, Diarose dismissed her request with a wave of her hand. No matter how much of a fool you are, you still hold the last seat of the succession line. You are both a symbol of our great empire as well as a powerful war asset. There's no need to waste you on some Kalanchen's wild dog. But I will feed you some appropriate trashes later, so sit back and stay out of this. Saying so, Diarose forcibly cut the communication. Then after finishing her last sushi, she gives orders to her subordinates. Pull out all of our units near Hokuto Kaisai's location. Instead, direct our deployed interceptor units to him. Yes, our interceptor units? Please excuse my rudeness, Your Highness. I do not think that our interceptors are capable of dealing with an opponent that even our forward units failed to defeat. A member of her staff raised a point. Currently, the interceptors' units that are in charge of defending the fleets consist of second rates, both in terms of skills and equipment. Pitching them against a monstrously skilled mercenary would spell their inevitable destruction. Fool. Do I have to spell everything out for you? My apology, Your Highness. With a stern look from Diarose, the staff immediately apologized. It's stupid to take a strong opponent head-on. Still, the opponent here is still made of flesh and blood. There are limits on both his bullets and endurance. Even with new graduates as his opponent, he will eventually exhaust himself if we keep attacking without giving him any time to rest. We can crush him whenever we want after that. Yes, Mom. I will immediately send the interceptors. To prevent herself from saying something that will cause further disappointment from her superior, the staff hurriedly began contacting the interceptor units. Make sure that they don't go at him all at once. Even as cannon fodders, Our troops are still finite after all. Keep the attack in waves to maximize the result while minimizing our loss. After ordering her staff so, Rose looks at the tactical map displayed on her monitor. HMPH, you gave me quite a bit of trouble but the victory will be mine in the end. I will make you work hard with your body afterward to compensate for all my troubles. As she played with her whip, an excited expression can clearly be seen on Rose's face. CH-36, Battle of Le Bois, 6. That's the last one, huh? While hiding behind the rocks, Kaisai changed the magazine of his blaster rifle. The box-shaped magazine containing compressed particles looks mostly like your traditional assault rifle used by the infantry and serves a similar purpose. My bad. Do you have any extra magazine left? I've already used up all my spares. His question was directed at the nearby Claymore. Currently, their battle situation has improved but they are still locked in a stalemate. With the success of Kaisai and his group, the Kalanshin side has managed to rebuild the front line. However, it still can't be said that all is good. After all, Kaisai had been fighting while repeatedly crossing between the Allies' position and the enemy's position without any chance to rest. Well, I don't actually have any spare magazines but… There, Claymore's pilot reluctantly replied. The fighting in this area has been fierce so far. No one here can afford to hand their magazines to others. Please take mine. A single shot from you is much more meaningful than mine after all. Saying so, the pilot pushed her magazines onto the Caliburn Revive's magazine holder. Thanks. But wandering around on the battlefield with no bullet is suicide. You should retreat and resupply for now. Kaisai did not decline the magazines. He understood that the pilot already thought it over and made up her resolve before she handed him her magazines. Please, it would be better to give the enemy an extra target rather than reducing our number here. If they can break through this place, our battle formation will be destroyed after all, said the pilot as her Claymore pulled out a photon saber. Fortunately, the terrain here is quite complex. Even with just a sword, I think I should be able to hold my own here. You've got guts. I will be counting on you. After tapping their Claymore's shoulder, Kaisai leapt the Caliburn Revive up by firing the thruster as he leaps from slope to slope. He's making his way forward to the enemy. Naturally, the enemy strikers in the area opened fire at him but he casually avoided them all. Whoa. Suddenly, Kaisai fired his blaster rifle to the empty space above him. The green beam flew into the night sky and after a brief moment, it impacted something causing an explosion. A few seconds later, several explosions occurred in the surrounding area. It was an indirect fire from the enemy ship. TLN. Indirect fire is an action of firing projectiles at the enemy without relying on a direct line of sight. Imagine mortar. That was scary. Giving him those extra mags was the right move after all. The earlier pilot who stayed behind muttered to herself in the cockpit. Her area escaped the enemy blind bombardment probably thanks to Kaisai shooting down the shells that were likely to hit their area. Wicked star, huh? When he's on our side, he's more like a lucky star though, said the Claymore pilot as she smiled bitterly. There's no end to them. More enemy reinforcements incoming. However, even Kaisai cannot let his guard down in this situation. The enemy is coming at him from all directions. He has been avoiding the things that he can avoid and deflecting those that he can't while striking back at the enemy when opportunities arise. From what he observed, it appears that the enemies are not that skilled and it's easy to shoot them down. So far, most were unable to react to Kaisai's no lock-on shooting and fall one after another. Push, push, push. They will shoot at us from behind if we fall back. Keep pushing. However, no matter how many he shot down, the enemy still showed no sign of running out of troops. More reinforcements would just come from the rear and replace the fallen units. It's a situation where both sides cannot push any further. Kaisai, do you think these guys are strange? Saki, who landed near him, said as she provided suppressive fire with her submachine gun. They are using gyro. Those things are already outdated. I don't think a rich country like Nord would put those things on the front line. Just as Saki said, not only Jetta, he can spot various unfamiliar striker models in the enemy force. Their trinocular main camera is certainly the same but their plump frame is clearly making them more sluggish than their Jettas. These strikers are the outdated model. Gyro. They should have been removed from frontline missions and repurposed to perform miscellaneous tasks in the rear, like operating mobile artillery or transporting supplies already. It must be the enemy's strategy. They are hitting us with low-value units so that they can minimize their losses while wearing us out. Wow. I'm honored. It seems that they evaluate me quite highly here. Ha ha ha. Is this a time to be laughing? There, Gyro. May be outdated, but they are still well equipped. If they got careless, even as Zenith could be shot down. The situation is not good for them. I mean, since they are concentrating their troops here, the enemy presence should be thinner in the other theaters. Since I'm still technically doing my job, it's all good. At the same time, Kaisai shoots his blaster at the sky again. Another explosion occurred, followed by multiple large explosions in the surrounding areas. Although they suffer no damage, the sound of pebbles hitting their armor at high speed is still unpleasant. Still, their support fires really are troublesome. Can't we do something about this, Your Highness? I've already requested support from our missile vessels. They should arrive at the enemy ship soon. Hearing Schlier responding to Saki's question, a frown appeared on Kaisai's face for a moment. He put his foot on the pedal and thought for a moment while listening to his surroundings. However, earlier than he could take any action, a pillar of fire rose in the distance. Ugh! Kaisai reflexively disabled his microphone and moaned painfully. Beads of cold sweat appeared on his face and dripped down to his knees. He clenches his teeth for a while before he finally starts breathing again. I couldn't make it in time. Damn it! Noticing the change in their Caliburn Revive's movement, Schlier looks worriedly at it. However, Saki didn't notice that and cheered. Judging from the size of that explosion, they must have hit the ammunition depot of a cruiser. Huh. Good, it will be easier for us now. It doesn't seem like there are more enemy ships nearby. Our allies behind us should be safe for the time being. Kaisai turned the mic back on and replied to Saki as normally as he could. That being said, we still have a long way to go. Let's take a breath while we can, both for their physical and mental health, Schlier grimly said while recalling what Kaisai told her before they arrived at Liboya. Kaisai is the trump card of the Kalanshia Empire. They should avoid unnecessarily wearing him out as much as possible. Thinking that this is going to be a harsh battle, a severe expression floated on Schlier's face. CH-37, Battle of Liboya, 7. Take this. A medium-sized missile was launched from the missile launcher the Mistiltwine took out from its hips. The missile split into multiple micro-missiles midair and showered down on the enemy troops. Several, Gyro, and Jetta, tried to evade the missiles, but they were hit by the bombardment. Due to the small payload, the damage was not enough to take them down. Still, Schlier successfully slowed their movement. Alright. Discarding the empty missile launcher, Schlier takes up the heavy machine gun and begins mowing the enemy down. The enemy strikers that were hit by the earlier missiles could not avoid the hail of bullets and their engines were shot through. However, the heavy machine gun ran out of bullets, leaving one surviving, Jetta. As it tries to counterattack using its blaster rifle, Kaisai came in from the side and pierced its abdomen using the pile bunker. I'm sorry. Don't say sorry. A thank you is enough. Why? Yes, thank you. After rephrasing her reply in a hurry, Schlier grits her teeth. Still, she has no time to be depressed about it right now. The enemy reinforcements are still pouring toward their location. She already lost count of how many strikers she shot down already, but she's sure that the number is massive. Mounting the now useless heavy machine gun on the waist hard point, Schlier operates the Mistiltwine to pull out a giant two-handed sword. Azui hand her and get ready to continue the combat. Your Highness, if you already ran out of ammo, then please retreat and resupply. Schlier can provide powerful support fire. That's why Saki urged her to withdraw and replenish her ammunition before returning to the front. Fortunately, Kaisai and Saki received some extra mags from other pilots so they can continue to fight for a while. Understood. After hesitating for a moment, Schlier gave a positive reply while suppressing her desire to stay. If she doesn't withdraw to replenish her supply while she can, everyone will eventually be exhausted and there would be no one left to put up a fight. After all, the enemy still showed no sign of stopping their waves of reinforcements. However, the moment Schlier turned back, she stopped herself when she heard Kaisai's puzzled voice. A strange presence is moving toward us. Strange. Presence? His words sound dubious at most, but given Kaisai's ability, which is even beyond bizarre, Schleer can't just laugh it off. Glancing at the display of her remaining ammunition, Schleer has one shot of her shoulder blaster cannon left. Is it someone strong? No. I think it's not like that. While cocking his head, Kaisai fired the thruster and advanced. Then, alone, Gyro unsheathed its photon saber and rushed straight toward him. That's the strange guy you were talking about? Challenging someone in a one-on-one old-fashioned duel. Isn't this a straightforward one? Saki groaned. However, Kaisai didn't say anything. He unsheathed his photon saber and received the attack. The green and red particle swords grind against each other, sending sparks flying everywhere. Push me to somewhere isolated. I want to talk. It was communication from there, Gyro. In front of him, a secured line. Kaisai involuntarily looks at the trinocular camera of the Gyro, displaying on the main monitor. Curiously, he couldn't feel any killing intent or any harmful intention toward him at all. This is the cause of the bizarreness. After all, that's all he could feel from the pilot despite the fact that they are on a heated battlefield. Understood. After considering it a little, Kaisai replies. He stepped on the pedal and fired the thruster at maximum output. Although the Gyro appeared to push back with its thruster, there's no way that their Gyro's pilot didn't notice the difference between the specs of their strikers. In other words, her resistance is just for show. In the end, the two strikers entered an area surrounded by rocky hills. Once they head into the gap between the huge rocks, they would be isolated just like how the other side requested. Thanks. Saying so, their Gyro's pilot opened her cockpit hatch. Turning off the microphone, Kaisai also follows suit. Hi, it's been a while. I thought that your voice sounded familiar. Leaving her cockpit and jumping inside the Caliburn Revive, was Valentina in a pilot suit. In response, Kaisai stands up and catches her slender frame which is still taller than himself. You are. Valentina then brings her arms around Kaisai and hugs him. Kaisai bears a shocked expression at the sudden development. It's lovely to see you again, my love. My love. As he peeled Valentina's arms off of him, Kaisai started to have cold sweat. There's no doubt that she is referring to him. However, this is the first time a person ever called him that way. Correct. I'm referring to the person who managed to captivate me. In other words, you. Huh? After being suddenly hit with such a corny pickup line, Kaisai was sent into confusion. To calm down, he took a lollipop out from his holster and put it in his mouth. I know it's sudden. I can understand why you are confused. Sorry about that. Also, even your troubled face is still cute, you know. Saying so, Valentina gently strokes Kaisai's cheek with her gloved hand. Trying to ignore her advances as much as possible, Kaisai focuses his mind on the taste of his lollipop. He can't allow himself to fall into her pace. So, what kind of business do you have with me? The other side is a member of the enemy nation's royal family who got into contact with him using a strange means. There must be some kind of circumstances behind her action. Right. We should get down to business. But before that, destroy my Gyro, and return to the battle first. The Noridian army would suspect it otherwise. So you came here in secret. While wondering what she's trying to do, Kaisai did as told and used the bile bunker to pierce the Gyro. Kaisai-san, what happened? Are you okay? Communication came in from Schleer. Kaisai was hesitating about how to answer her, but Valentina simply turned on the mic and replied, Hello there, it's been a while, Princess Pimp. Wow, that voice, that insolent tone. Don't tell me. The vixen from Nord. Ha ha ha. She gave me quite a terrible nickname. Huh. That's kind of mutual though. Kaisai reflexively retorted. Wait. Someone snuck into Caliburn Revive. Feeling something's off, Saki hurriedly rushed over. It's a stalker. A devious pervert stalker snuck into the Caliburn Revive. Just how did you? Well, hold on a minute here. I didn't come here to fight. I've something important to tell you so you don't have to get so worked up. With that said, Valentina snugly moved behind Kaisai and sat down on the seat. She then taps her knees, signaling Kaisai to sit down. Anyway, right now we should pretend that everything's normal. Neither the other Noridian soldiers nor commanders know that I'm here, so just keep fighting. I wouldn't want anyone to find me here after all. Hearing that, Kaisai reluctantly sat down on Valentina's lap. Because of the height difference, he would not be able to operate the striker otherwise. That being said, he has to focus his mind to the utmost to ignore the existence of the big, soft object that is pressing against his back. Excuse me. Ah, the lollipop was stolen from his mouth. And just like that, with no hesitation, Valentina put it in her mouth. Her face burst into a smile as she tasted the still wet lollipop. I think I will give you something nice as thanks for the lollipop. How does a kiss that's sweeter than any candy you ever tasted sound? Valentina faintly whispers into Kaisai's ear. Her voice was not picked up by the mic. Her warm breaths touch his ear, making Kaisai quivered. I'll pass. What's that? Kaisai-san, are you okay? Sensing something unpleasant going on, Schlier yelled into the mic. Worry not. I'd never do anything that would hurt my love. My love? Ugh, so cringy. Schlier and Saki simultaneously voiced their disgust. However, Valentina's expression remained unaffected. I'm not going to do anything uncouth, as long as you people do as I say, that is. I only have one request. I'd like you to properly listen to my warning. That's all. Simple, right? TSK. If it's something bad then I'm going to kill you. Kaisai-san, Lieutenant Mikishima, let's hear her out for the time being. Just hearing that is. In truth, Schlier can't do anything as Kaisai is being held as a hostage. Right now, she has no choice but to obey Valentina's instructions. While sighing at the bizarre situation he found himself in, Kaisai started up there, Caliburn revive, again. CH-38 Battle of Liboya, 8. Now, the first thing I am going to say is that I came here on my own. My actions are completely arbitrary, said Valentina after she confirmed that their Caliburn revive has rejoined the battle. A tremendous amount of effort is required of Kaisai in order to properly steer his striker while he's sitting on this beauty's lap. But Valentina doesn't seem to care about that. Neither my elder sister, the commander-in-chief of this invasion, nor other Imperial soldiers deployed in this area know that I am here. The only ones who know are a selected few of my subordinates who report directly to me. We don't have any way to verify what you said though, Schlier bitterly replied. However, Valentina simply narrowed her eyes as though such a reply was already anticipated. Then there is no problem. I didn't come here to betray my country or join you guys after all. The reason I went out of my way to come here personally is to relay to you one necessary warning. A warning? Do you want us to hurry up and surrender? Kyukaku. It seems that you are quite simple-minded, huh? I know that you people would not just accept defeat just because I tell you to. Do you think that I am so moronic that I would expect you to obediently surrender if I ask? I see, so you came to pick a fight, huh? Fine then, let me respond in kind. PL, please cut that out. You too, Valentina-sama too. Please lay off the taunting. The talk wouldn't progress otherwise. Schlier may appear calm but she is already quite irritated. Kaisai can't afford to let them start exchanging insults now. The fact that Valentina's presence here is unknown to the Norwegian soldiers appears to be true, as the enemy strikers are still continuing to attack him as normal. Right now, he is simply avoiding their attack and retaliate when he's able to. Apologies, my love. Fufu. It is exactly as you said. Let's continue this in a ladylike manner, shall we? Said Valentina with a lustrous smile. Also, you don't need to address me with honorifics. Our relationship is much more intimate than that, don't you think? I don't see how that's the case though, as Kaisai tiredly retorted. Saki interjected into the conversation. Wait a minute. Did you say Valentina earlier? That person, isn't she Nords? Your guess is correct, Samurai. While looking at Saki's katana-holding striker, Valentina answered with a snap of her fingers. How did you get in there? She's right. Did you let her in yourself? That's just too dangerous. I mean, I didn't feel any harmful intention from her, so if he felt that she intended to harm him, he would not open his hatch unprotected. However, he couldn't feel any such intention from Valentina through their icon at all. Naturally, as expected of my love and I are truly connected, body and soul. Please stop joking, Valentina-sama. Oh, I've already told you that there's no need for any honorifics, right? This warrants a punishment. You are. Suddenly having his ear nibbled on, Kaisai yelped. Naturally, the striker's movement was also affected. Can you not do that during battle? It's dangerous. It's okay. I'm here with you after all. If it gets dangerous then I can maneuver this striker for you. Damn it. What's that vixen doing to my man now? Your Highness, even if you are frustrated, I think that calling him your man is still a no-go, right? Still, That woman is certainly infuriating though. Schleer and Saki immediately got heated up. However, despite their screams of protest, Valentina simply replies with a laugh. Foo, losers' howlings are always pleasant to the ears. Whatever, just get down to the main topic already. Unable to bear the sexual harassment anymore, Kaisai stopped being polite and urged Valentina to state her business. Right, there's that. Sorry, my love. I was having too much fun talking with you. Ah, sure. So? Actually a very dangerous woman has set her eyes on you. That's what I came here to tell you today. Kaisai unpleasantly moaned. It would be great if he's spared from having to deal with anything more troublesome than this. That is certainly true. Even right now Kaisai-san is being terrorized by a very dangerous beast after all. No, I was not referring to myself. She's much more dangerous than me, that woman. Who is she? He doesn't really want to know, but since it will end up affecting him sooner or later, Kaisai asked with a sigh. Rose Vista Agarin, my elder sister and the next in line to the Nord throne. You are. Hearing that unexpected name from Valentina, Kaisai could only groan. What? Wait a minute. Isn't she the enemy supreme commander? Why is such a big shot setting her eyes on him? It was a bad move to crash my Orthokratzer with a training unit. That's what caught her eyes. That's 100% your fault, isn't it? I do think that I was also to blame too. Valentina replied to Saki's retort with a straight face. My sister is a hardcore sadist. She probably wants to make a strong man like you submit to her. So it's that type. This is the worst on earth. Kaisai's situation would be like when a female knight starts to stand out after making a lot of achievements in an army full of men. From the perspective of those vulgar perverts, a setting like this seems to be very exciting for them. Moreover, as you know, my sister is the type who isn't afraid to get her hands dirty. It's not hard to imagine that she would try to get her hands on you using some underhanded means. That person was the one who authorized the purge bombing after all. Surely she would never approach Kaisai-san straightforwardly. Hearing what Valentina said, Schleer, who managed to calm down a little, replied with a bitter voice. Exactly. She's not someone that you can expect a spirit of chivalry from. Moreover, to make things worse, she's incredibly sharp. She managed to overtake her elder sisters and get to be the person next in line to the throne after all. Yes, I've heard the story. I heard that people are calling her the undefeated princess too. Schleer sighed at the troublesome opponent. Anyway, I want you to be careful. I don't think that you would slip up on the battlefield, but once you stepped out of a striker, you'd be nothing but a pretty boy after all. I know that I'm physically weak, but maybe sugarcoating it a little. Kaisai turned dispirited. Foo, I'm sorry. By the way, Schleer Henrietta, in terms of protecting my love, our interests are aligned. Don't you think? Infuriating as it is, you have that right. I will attach him with some escorts. You do that. I have no intention to go easy on you in this war myself, but if it's to protect my love, I will cooperate with you. Valentina exhaled after she finished what she wanted to say. That's it for me. My love, can you find somewhere private and let me out? I had my subordinates waiting for me nearby. Yes, got it. Even Kaisai would have trouble fighting when he doesn't know when he would get sexually harassed again. He has been on the defensive since earlier too. Wishing that he can get rid of her soon, he immediately moved his striker. TSK, can't be helped. Lieutenant Makishima, let's provide some support. Roger that. Can we just shoot her in the back though? I understand your feelings, but that goes against the code of chivalry. Damn. With each of them holding their Zweihander and katana respectively, the two push into the enemy position. After confirming that the enemy was focusing on the two, Kaisai moved to a rocky area and opened the cockpit hatch. Thank you. I was happy to see you again, you know, my love. Saying so, Valentina pulled the lollipop out of her mouth and gently caressed Kaisai's cheek with one hand. Just like that, she brings her doll-like face close to Kaisai's and places her lips on his forehead. The refreshing citrus scent of her perfume tickled Kaisai's nose. Well then, let's meet again. Saying so, she waved the lollipop in her hand and left the cockpit. In response, Kaisai, whose eyes already looked like those of a dead fish, touched his forehead. The kiss to the forehead is the greatest show of affection to the opposite sex for Vuld. Incidentally, Vuld women usually do not kiss someone on the lips because their saliva contains some aphrodisiac components. That's why such a kiss is considered to be vulgar outside of bed. Let's just head back to battle. With a depressed sigh, Kaisai closed the cockpit hatch. CH-39. Battle of Liboya. 9. That woman, she told us to be careful, but at this rate, we are going to get crushed even before her sister shows up, isn't it? Saki irritatedly shouted a few minutes after Valentina left. Like before, the enemy strikers are not that strong, but if they keep coming like this, Saki's side will gradually exhaust themselves. But we can't afford to withdraw here either, Schleer said as she fired her heavy machine gun. She had withdrawn from battle and resupply earlier, but she still had to return to the front without getting any proper rest. After all, holding such an amount of enemy with only 2 strikers is obviously not going to be easy. We could keep up with their number because we are piloting zeniths. If we let such a big wave of enemies reach another front. I don't even want to imagine what will happen. Still, our opponents are clearly just reserved units. They must have stationed their main force elsewhere. It can't be good for us to continue playing their game like this. Kaisai growls. The enemies they are facing are clearly just a diversion. It's hard to imagine that the Norwegian commanders think that this amount of troops can take them down. Moreover, even though Valentina clearly dislikes her sister, she seems to acknowledge her ability. There's no way that the enemy commander-in-chief is just an average person. Yes, exactly. While these decoys stall us here, the enemy's main force must be moving somewhere else. Honestly, if their main force collided with ours, it's impossible that our force would come out on top. One could say the fact that Kaisai, who is their most powerful war asset, is being stalled on an unimportant front is showing that the current situation greatly deviated from their original plan. Right now, the battle is progressing at the opponent's pace. Schleer glanced at the tactical map displayed on her sub-monitor. The enemy unit attacking them seems to be a small and compact one. This renders their guerrilla tactics less effective. What's more, if they can't send out a recon unit, they will not be able to verify the location of the enemy's main force. In other words, there's nothing they can do. We need to find a way to win this, Schleer muttered while suppressing her frustration. If it's a way to win this battle, then there's one. It will be fine. While she was like that, Kaisai replied with a bright voice. Avoiding the enemy attack, Kaisai approached the enemy strikers at full speed and skewered them one by one using his pile bunker. For now, the situation is progressing in the direction that the enemy expected. That's why it will be fine. We just have to turn the table on them when the time comes. What do you mean? After hiding her striker in a shade of a rock, Schleer asked. Is there really a way for them to turn the table on the enemy as they are now? It seems that the enemy has quite a high opinion of us. That's why they definitely do not want us to be anywhere near their main force when they are trying to deal a decisive blow on the main fleet. That apostrophe s. True. Schleer nodded while thinking to herself that it's not us who they are putting up their guard against, but you alone. In other words, there's a high chance that they will send something powerful our way to keep us occupied when the time comes. That will be our signal to counterattack. I see, so that's when we can take the initiative to attack them back. Saki grins. Certainly, that plan is much more interesting than just remaining on the defensive. The moment our opponent makes an advance on our main fleet, I will rush in to intercept them. It will be difficult for me to withdraw though. So, you are saying that you have a chance of winning? Of course. I will show you. I am Hokuto Kaisai after all. Saying so, Kaisai laughs out loud. After thinking about his proposal for a while, Schleer agrees to his plan. Although she has never seen any lone zenith turning the tide of battle between capital ships, she has no other plan to offer right now. I understand. Let's go with that. Hearing that, Kaisai let out a small sigh. He then put more strength into his grip on the control sticks. This might be bad for me, but this is the thing that you must do. Hokuto Kaisai, in a small voice that didn't even get picked up by the mic, Kaisai motivated himself. He then looked to the sky in the distance. A unit of strikers is approaching their location at a tremendous speed. From the presence he feels, it's clear that their level of skills is clearly different from that of the enemies they have faced so far. It seems that our timing has arrived. Now then, shall we? In a bright voice, Kaisai made his striker jump up, and just like that he fired the thruster at full power and rushed toward the enemy unit. Hey, where are you going? Seeing him rush out, Saki shouts at him from behind. Glancing at the approaching enemies, it's clear that their strikers are even more advanced than their jetter. The output of their engine is clearly higher. These signals, Linian. The Imperial Knights? Oi, Oi, those Norwegians suddenly got serious. Moreover, he just rushed in. While the two were taken by surprise, Kaisai continued to accelerate. Naturally, the enemy concentrated fire on him, but he skillfully avoided them all. The distance between Kaisai and the enemy elite unit is reduced and he can now see them on his screen. It was a unit of jet black glossy strikers. There, Linian, is a high-spec model of striker that is only available to the Imperial Knights under the direct command of the Empress of the Nord Empire. Perhaps they were intending to blitz their position. All Linians are all straddled on ride boosters. There, it's the enemy from the report. Keep your guard up. That is no ordinary enemy. The Norwegians' communication line immediately grew noisy. Then, Kaisai held up his blaster rifle and fired. There, Linian, he avoided the beam with a reaction speed that would not bring shame to the name Imperial Knight, but the second shot Kaisai fired still found its way to the Linian's shoulder. As expected of the armor plate on a high-spec unit, it managed to endure a blow, but the third shot Kaisai fired in succession made an impact on the exact same place, and there, Linian was sent flying. I'm taking this. While avoiding the enemy's attack, Kaisai commandeered the ride booster that lost its rider. He then flipped it back 180 degrees and fired its thruster at max power. As the ride booster also seems to be specially designed for the Imperial Knights, the G assaulting his body from the acceleration is even stronger than usual. Ugh! Kaisai grit his teeth while enduring the rusted iron smell rising up from his chest. His target, the Kalanchen main fleet. CH-40. Battle of Leboya. 10. Your Majesty. The mercenary from the report is requesting permission to come aboard. What did you say? Hearing the report from the control operator, Alicia involuntarily stood up from her seat. If memory serves her right, the mercenary should be fighting in a theater far away from her main fleet. Why is he here? The enemy fleet is en route toward our location, ma'am. Approximate time to contact, 10 minutes. What a timing. Is this his intuition as a veteran mercenary? Fine. Permission granted. It was only a few minutes ago that she managed to locate the enemy's main force. She had thought that there's no time for her to even put up a proper defense. Understood. Informed that he was granted permission to come aboard, Kaisai approached the ship from the rear and landed on the landing deck. That ride booster, is it not Nord's? He stole it, huh? The deck crew was whispering among themselves, but Kaisai did not even leave the cockpit and connect a communication line to the deck operator. The enemy is right around the corner. He doesn't have time to get off and relax here. Please replenish my ammunition. I only need the blaster magazines, so please give me as many as you can. Roger that. Right away. For a striker to land here in such a situation, it is obvious that it is here for resupplying. Since the ammunition and other supplies were already prepared at the landing deck, the deck crew immediately went to work. Also, can you please open a communication line to the person in charge here? I need to talk with them about something. Please stand by. Even with excellent war results, it is not common for a striker pilot to be granted the right to address the commander-in-chief. That's why the operator immediately disconnected her communication with Kaisai and asked Alicia for permission. Hokuto Kaisai said that he has something to discuss with you, Your Majesty. How do you wish to proceed? I don't mind. Patch him through. This is originally a battle where they do not stand much chance of winning from the beginning. Since their only hope is this man, Alicia immediately dropped the formality and answered, understood. Since the Caliburn Revive is currently inside the landing deck, which leaves laser communication uninterrupted by the enemy, the operator operates her terminal and connects a video communication channel to the Caliburn Revive. Kaisai's face then appeared on the monitor at Alicia's armrest. Hello, ma'am. I'm sorry for the abruptness. We are in an emergency. Hurry up and state your business. Alicia's reply was blunt, but in truth, she was quite surprised at his appearance, which is even more beautiful than she expected. One could say that his appearance is bad for her heart. This will make things quicker. Thank you very much. I want to talk to your highness about the battleships that are heading toward this location. I see. Do you have a strategy to deal with them? That question was mixed with Alicia's expectations. If he says that they should abandon this place and flee, then all hope would be lost. Their original plan was to engage the enemy's main force after they dealt enough damage with their strikers and missile vessels. However, that plan has already crumbled to dust. Performing an effective surprise attack, centralizing the troops' command, neutralizing enemy influential war assets such as the Zenith using guerrilla tactics, So far none of the plans they laid out was successful. Even if it's certainly a plan, since I don't have much time to prepare. I don't think I can do much though. I expected as much. Alicia groaned. For the time being, I'm going to push toward the enemy fleet and provide some intel to this side while disrupting their formation. But attacking such a large fleet with only a small number of units would be ... Come to think of it, are you not supposed to be with my daughter's unit? What happened to Schleer? Your Majesty, Her Highness Schleer is currently engaging the enemy in another theater. It appears that he's the only one who managed to join our fleet. An operator answered Alicia's question instead of Kaisai. Kaisai was able to break through the enemy ranks and come here only because he managed to steal a ride booster and flew here at full speed. At the moment, Schleer and the others are being stalled in another theater by the enemy Imperial Knights, a Noridian elite unit. They are highly skilled and well equipped. It would be difficult to shake them off even on a zenith. Right now we don't have any choice. I have to do this by myself. Still, I will do what I can. I see, I'm counting on you. Having no other choice, Alicia replied. After all, there's no use moaning about a force that she doesn't have the access to. Also, I have 2 more requests. Hearing that, Alicia nodded to Kaisai. At this point, she can do nothing but support in any way that she can. While I scout ahead, I will mark the enemy ships that should be easy targets to this side. Please have all your ships concentrate fire on the ships I'm going to mark. Sure. I understand. I will notify my subordinates. Fighting the enemy while being at a disadvantage is no longer avoidable. It is highly likely that even the flagship she's currently on is not going to be safe. In an emergency case where she cannot command her fleet from this place, it is better to relay her general instructions to the other ships in the fleet beforehand. In the first place, it is entirely possible that Kaisai might get shot down even before it comes to that. Her staff officers also seem to realize this and look at her, but Alicia silently stopped them from saying anything. Even if they gather all their force and proceed on an all-out attack, it is still unlikely that they will win. That's why if there's even the smallest chance they can bet on, they have no choice but to go all in. You said that you have 2 requests, right? What's the other one? It's about the engagement. I'd like the fleet to engage the enemy while maintaining as much distance from the enemy fleet as possible. What? Alicia immediately frowned. Noridian battleships outperform that of the Kalanshin in both sensor performance and attack range. Thinking about it normally, the farther they are from the enemy, the more disadvantaged they will be. It will work better for us that way. I will make sure of it. Fine. After thinking it over for a while, Alicia agreed. Since she decided to believe in this man, even if the request he made was strange, she thought that she should trust in him. While thinking that if Kaisai is actually an Noridian spy, it would all be over for them, Alicia bitterly smiled to herself. I'm really sorry about everything. I need to head out soon or I won't make it in time. I understand. I'm leaving this to you. After disconnecting the communication, Alicia sighs. While listening to the operator's report of the enemy's gradual approach, Alicia saw off the White Striker as it flew toward the enemy's direction. Wicked star. I hope that he will be the star of death to the enemy. With the time for decisive battle approaching, Alicia closed her eyes and put her hands together to pray. CH-41 Battle of Leboya 11. A dozen of gigantic battleships are being escorted by countless auxiliary ships in a ring-shaped formation. Not even attempting to hide themselves, their majestic presence could be seen as the triumph of conquerors. Towards such an intimidating sight, a pure White Striker is speeding at them like a comet. In response, a fierce barrage from the AA guns flew toward him, but the Caliburn Revive evaded it with a sharp turn that hurt. Cough. Attacked by the vicious G that assaulted his entire body, Kaisai coughed. His cough was accompanied by not a small amount of blood, but he couldn't afford to wipe it off as he can't take his hands off the control sticks. But if I don't do this, then who would? His attack is clearly reckless. However, he can't turn back. His target is the enemy battleships. What he needs to do is to evade the AA barrage from the small and medium-sized cruisers and destroyers that are escorting them and race toward the center of their formation. Why is that man here? He's supposed to be kept away from this area of operation. At the bridge of the Adele Vanson, Dairos screamed. What exactly is the problem here, Your Highness? What can they do with just one striker? Her staff officer calmly replied. Certainly. A striker's firepower is limited. His ammunition should be enough to sink one battleship at best. Although that may seem like a big loss for them, but the loss of one battleship cannot turn the tide of battle. Fool, there's no way that he just rushed in alone without expecting any kind of support. They must be planning something. Dirose's instinct is warning her that no matter what, she should never allow him to get close. Pulling back the frontline unit backfired on Miha. To think that our reserved units can't even stall that man. That's right. There were only a minimum number of strikers left to escort the fleet since they had dispatched them to keep Kaisai occupied. As a result, their Caliburn Revive only has to deal with the storm of AA barrages from the ships to get to the center of the fleet. I made it. At almost the same time he arrived at the center of the enemy fleet. The battle between the two sides broke out. The main batteries of battleships from both sides loudly barked as powerful blaster beams and armor-piercing shells were exchanged. The ship with the thinnest armor ... that won her. While identifying what appears to be an old-fashioned battleship and relaying the information back to the Kalanchen fleet, Kaisai pointed the muzzle of his anti-ship grenade launcher at a nearby battleship. His target is the Fire Control Radar, FCR. A large piece of equipment that is only installed on battleships. With such a big target, there's no way that he would miss. TLN, an FCR is a radar that is designed specifically to provide information to a fire control system. Alright. First one down. The radar array was blown away. Following that, he also fired his blaster rifle toward the navigation radar and the Dadar. TLN. Reminder: Dadar in this story is Tachin Radar. An ally battleship was sunk by concentrated fire from the Norwegian fleet and Kaisai's complexion immediately turned darker. I have to finish this soon. Meanwhile, the A8 turrets and high-angle blaster lined up on the deck of the battleships nearby continued to shoot at him. To avoid hail after hail of beam and bullets, Kaisai has no choice but to perform tight turns and unnatural maneuvers, making him cough up blood each time. We lost another one, Mom. There, Grigor's FCR is down. Their fire control system FCS is disabled. They can only use the built-in sensors on their turrets now. Advance the entire fleet. Put the damaged ships in the lead. With their radars destroyed, long-range shooting is no longer possible for them. To make up for that, Dirose tried to close the engagement distance, but with the advice Kaisai gave before the battle began, the Kalanchen fleet withdrew as much distance as the Norwegian fleet is advancing on them and focused their efforts on long-range battle while Kaisai continues to destroy the Norwegian fleet's FCR. Explosion confirmed on board their Origin. Contact lost. A pillar of flame rose on the left wing of the fleet. After the explosion, the Crimson battleship descends as if it could no longer resist the planet's gravity. However, before it landed, another explosion occurred and its hull was broken in half. 237 people. Kaisai mutters as his breath gets mixed with blood. The battleship that had fallen earlier was the one that Kaisai marked for concentrated attack. The receiver of the Icon system does not only pick up the brainwaves of the pilot but also of the people in the area. Kaisai perceived clearly that hundreds of lives had just been snuffed out in an instant. Damn it. However, there's no time for him to sort out his emotions. Perhaps due to blood loss, his vision started to blur. He can't see clearly anymore. Still, it might be better this way. Kaisai shut his eyes. He can steer a striker even with his eyes closed. After all, the information from the cameras and sensors can be transmitted directly to his brain through the Icon system. It will take a heavy toll on him, but he has no other choice. After around 10 minutes, 4 of the Norwegian battleships have been sunk in total. On the other hand, although the Kalanchen fleet also suffered some damage, only one of their battleships was sunk. You still can't find the enemy flagship yet? While suppressing the impatience inside her, Dirose asks her staff. Not yet, Mom. The Kalanchen do not have any special ship. We've only been able to identify standard battleships so far. Damn penniless country. Just target the ships that look the newest first. You don't have to sink them. Just landing a good blow on their bridge is enough. Dirose knows that the enemy commander here is Queen Alicia. If she can kill Alicia, the enemy's command will shatter and they should be able to push through. And perhaps her prayer was heard by the heavens. An shell fired from there, Adele Vanson, landed on the bridge of the Glorious. Although it could not penetrate the armor plate, it did cause tremendous damage to the command room. Damn. Not that one. However, the enemy fleet still functions. They continue to make pinpoint concentrated attacks on their weak airships. Thinking that the enemy commander is still alive, Dia-Rose clenched her teeth. Your Highness, we can't hold out at this rate. Please Sortie. If your Highness can kill that mercenary, then we still have a chance of winning. It is clear that the enemy's pinpoint attacks were enabled by the information provided by their Caliburn Revive. However, shooting him down is no easy task. That's why the staff plead to Dia-Rose, who is in possession of the Noridian most powerful striker, to deal with him. Not to mention that her appearance on the battlefield will increase the soldiers' morale as well. Fools! How do you not notice that it's exactly his aim to lure me out? If I go out, it would only get more convenient for them. If she has to be honest, Dia-Rose does not have the confidence that she can win against Kaisai in a one-on-one fight. Moreover, if she gets defeated in single combat, the morale of her fleet will plummet to an irreversible level. Your Highness, it's enemy reinforcements. 50 missile vessels and destroyers. They are being escorted by a large number of strikers as well. They are approaching us at high speed from 8 o'clock. Ugh! Dia-Rose finally screamed. The Kalanshan force that it was being stalled by their secondary units has arrived. Under normal circumstances, these missile vessels and destroyers are nothing to them. However, in a confused state like this, they stand a chance of breaking through the Noridian escort fleet. Withdraw all ships. Have the damaged ship withdraw from battle and leave this system at full speed. There, Adele Vanson will act as the rear guard. Given the situation, she has no other choice. The Kalanshan is gaining an edge on them. To not let the damage spread any further, Dia-Rose was forced to withdraw. Although it suffered great damage, her fleet did not suffer to the extent that it reached the point of no return yet. While fighting back, the Noridian fleet pulls out of the system with precise maneuvers. With the Kalanshan fleet in no state to give chase, the distance between the two sides is rapidly increasing. It's finally over. In the cockpit reeked with the smell of blood, Kaisai mutters to himself. He fired his thruster and headed toward the Kalanshan fleet, but suddenly, everything went silent. His propellant has run out. There, Caliburn Revive crashes and rolls on the surface, blowing up clouds of dirt. Ugh! With a strong final impact, the striker finally came to a stop. It appeared that he crashed onto one of the sunken Noridian battleships. In his hazy consciousness, Kaisai reached toward the crimson armor plate displayed on his main monitor. If I don't get stronger. Never again. After saying that much, his consciousness was completely cut off. CH-42. Dia-Rose's first ever rout. Ugh! There's no use winning a battle at the cost of the entire fleet. Why can't you understand something so simple? Dia-Rose screams at the radio. She is currently intercepting the Kalanshan pursuers in the low orbit of Labor Alpha with her personal striker. There, Xantis. What's so important about a single defeat? I just need to win next time. If you get that, then order your ship to retreat already. Fool. With a loud sigh, Dia-Rose cut off the communication. She has been doing this for a while now. The ships that suffered damage in the earlier battle were only the ones under the direct command of the imperial family. The army of the aristocrats who she had been using as decoys are still in good condition. One could say that they had the advantage even. That's why when they are being ordered to retreat, many of them protest Dia-Rose's decision. Fools, each and every one of them. While complaining to herself, Dia-Rose evaded an attack from the enemy, Claymore, and immediately closed the distance at tremendous speed. Anyway, it's time to relieve some stress. She proceeds to fire a shotgun in there, Xantis' right hand at close range. The shell exploded into pellets and accelerated toward the Claymore at high speed, while the shotgun was automatically reloaded with a red shell via the belt feeder. Although the shot did not pierce the cockpit, their Claymore, which was exposed to numerous pellets, was ridden with holes with all its sensors and thrusters disabled. Now, for the finishing touch. Dia-Rose pressed a button on her control stick and a tentacle-like whip extended from the right hand of Xantis. She then mercilessly struck it at the enemy striker, which was already rendered powerless. The moment the whip struck the armor, a high-voltage current was released, causing a crackling sound and an intense electric spark on impact. Ugh! Hearing the scream of pain from the pilot, Dia-Rose let out a peal of muffled laughter. With the protection the cockpit provides, the damage from the electrical charge wouldn't be enough to take the pilot's life. Still, the pilot should be rendered unconscious for a while. Too easy. But it seems that I still have a lot of prey left, huh? I will have them entertain me for a while. Saying so, Dia-Rose headed off to deal with the remaining Kalanchen strikers. Well, that's about it, I guess. In the end, it took her less than 3 minutes to annihilate the remaining strikers in the area. Naturally, she has guards escorting her, but since the enemies were nothing special, Dia-Rose took care of everything herself. The Kalanchen army in its current state cannot afford to organize a proper pursuit. Moreover, by defeating these unorganized enemy troops, she would be able to regain some respect from her subordinates after her defeat. Phew. Dia-Rose exhales. The screams of her enemies made her feel a little better, but she still has a mixed feeling as she looks at her withdrawing fleet. She switches off the mic and mutters something to herself. How pathetic. At this rate, Mother will be disappointed in me. Realizing that depressing fact from her own words, Dia-Rose's expression turned bitter. She sighs again and thinks about her future. I definitely can't let her say that she doesn't need me anymore. Saying so, Dia-Rose's body started to tremble. Her mother, the Empress of the Nord Empire, is a ruthless and cold-hearted person. Even with her own flesh and blood, if Dia-Rose cannot live up to her expectations, she would get mercilessly killed off. If not that, then finding herself getting coldly reprimanded by her mother is still the most unpleasant thing for Dia-Rose. Anyway, I have no choice but to win the next battle. Some battleships were lost, but the auxiliary ships are still mostly in perfect condition. If I go on another offensive when there's no irregular to worry about, then I will definitely win. Saying so, Dia-Rose looked up. In the darkness of space stretched above her, she can see an ominous dully shining crimson star. If not for that irregular ... Damn you, Hokuto Kaisai. Dia-Rose swore with an irritated expression. If not for that man. If that man wasn't there, I would have won. Dia-Rose clenched her teeth and covered her face with her hands. I should have won. It was my victory. Argh. Did I really lose? Is this what a defeat feels like? This is the first defeat in her life. After she recognized that, Dia-Rose slowly looked up. For some reason, her face is flushed red. She also notices that her breath became hot and there's a mysterious sensation burning inside her head. What is this? This feeling, as this strange sensation that she can't explain ran through her body. Dia-Rose embraced her body with a strangely thrilling smile on her face. He must be celebrating his victory by now. I'm sure that he's real proud about it. After he caused so much pain to me, I want to hold him down and make him scream. That should be quite a sweet delusion for her, but somehow, it doesn't feel quite right. Still, Dia-Rose shook her head and flushed out those thoughts. That must be it. I'm simply looking forward to my victory. Kyukaku, just you wait. Hokuto Kaisai. I'm going to catch you and make you submit to me. Ha 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 ha. After Dia-Rose let out that cold laugh, her smile soon faded as she muttered, but is that really how I feel? Her question was unanswered. CH-43. Welcome back celebration. 1 month has passed since the Battle of Liboya. No major moves were made by neither the Noridian nor the Kalanchen side since they both suffered severe damage to their forces. Regarding Kaisai, after the battle, he had been hospitalized for some time at the Imperial Hospital in the Kalanchen capital. This is not surprising given that he was unconscious when he was rescued by his allies. The injuries he suffered from combat were serious and it was supposed to take him 3 months to fully recover, but he managed to recover in 1 month thanks to the latest regenerative technology treatment. He's finally discharged from the hospital 1 day ago and is now back at there, radiant. Fiv. Kaisai has been doing push-ups inside his room on top of the biograss mat that he laid on top of the already carpeted floor. CX. Hitting his limit after only the 6th time, Kaisai collapsed down on the mat. After a dry cough, Kaisai continues to breathe heavily for a while. Damn it. I used to be able to do 10 before, said Kaisai with a pathetic voice. He's been training like this every day for a long time, but for some reason, he couldn't gain any muscle at all. Even a normal healthy man with no training at all should be able to do more than him. He can't blame this on anything else but his weak constitution. Arg, I hate this. While sighing, Kaisai wiped his face with a towel. He hasn't done much exercise at all, but he's still very sweaty. As he lay on the mat wondering how to improve his physical strength, a buzzer sounded from the terminal installed at the door. It appears that he has a visitor. Yes, coming. He stood up and headed to the door. He thought about unlocking it immediately at first, but he changed his mind and used the terminal instead. The outside of the room was then displayed on the screen. His two visitors appear to be Schleer and Saki. There should be no problem letting them in. Thinking so, he pressed the switch and opened the door. Yuwa. The two behind the door were about to say hello, but they suddenly blushed and took a step back when they saw Kaisai. Seeing their strange reactions, Kaisai cocked his head. What is it? Acting like that all of a sudden? Why, you? What kind of idiot would open the door to someone with that lewd appearance? Huh? Hearing Saki, Kaisai checks his appearance. He's wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt and jersey bottoms with the words, "Second in Yui Junior High School," embroidered on them. It's certainly embarrassing to still be using his clothes from his school days, but there's really nothing lewd about them at all. Moreover, your flushed face, and the sweat. Why, you can't appear like that in front of others, you know. While saying such a thing, Schleer was breathing heavily as she stepped closer to him. Involuntarily, Kaisai pulled back. Why do you smell so good with all those sweats, Kaisai-san? This is weird, right? Aren't sweats supposed to be smelly? Please stay back, Your Highness. Stay back, damn it. I understand your feelings, but stop that already. You will get hauled away by the MP otherwise. Alright, you pervert princess. Oi, Kaisai, I'm taking care of this idiot, so you go take a shower and change your clothes first. Yeah. Feeling the danger to his body, Kaisai immediately shut the door and locked it. He then head straight to the shower. I'm extremely sorry. 30 minutes later, Schleer bowed and apologized to him in a small dining room inside the ship. After she calmed down, she immediately realized how shameful her action was, so she's currently feeling extremely ashamed of what she's done. However, this is already the second time this has happened, so Kaisai was already used to it. Well, it's okay. I shouldn't have let my guard down. Exactly. You, make sure to be more careful in the future, alright? If I didn't have self-control, then you'd have been assaulted by two people already, you know. The one who raised that voice was not Kaisai but Schleer instead. Assaulted. It's not like that, you know. I was only trying to enjoy the smell directly though. Huh? Saki jumped up and knocked her chair down while her face turned crimson like a boiled octopus. Why, you. If you're a woman, then just push him down. After realizing what she said, Saki turned toward Kaisai. She then hurriedly waved her hands in a panic while trying to think of something to say. I mean, I'd never do that, okay? It's just an expression, okay? Yeah, sure. Why do I have to deal with this while I'm still recovering? Thought Kaisai as he looked up to the ceiling. However, since he can't just ignore them forever, he turned his gaze back to the table. Should we not start eating soon? It would be a waste if this thing gets cold, you know, said Kaisai as he pointed at the steaming pork cutlet. And this is no ordinary pork cutlet. What's in front of him is the luxurious pork cutlet made from organic ingredients. These days, organic foods are not something that is readily available. To support the massive world population, food these days is made from synthetic or biologically engineered ingredients which have greater yields but come at the cost of their taste. Then why is there an organic dish in front of them? The answer is that the two have forcibly procured it to celebrate his discharge. They came all the way to Kaisai's room to give him this. Right. Haha. Saki sits back down with an awkward laugh and said so while taking out a bowl filled with white rice. Alright, let's eat. Man, I've been looking forward to this. CH44. Please stop using the honorifics. Come to think of it. I didn't get any information about the war at all while I was in the hospital. How is the situation looking now? While playing with his chopsticks with a look of regret on a plate that was left with only shredded cabbage, Kaisai asked the two about the war. Schleer, who was going at her third large bowl of rice, considered how to answer him for a moment and placed her bowl down before answering. More importantly, may I say something first? What is it? Kaisai cocked his head as he didn't expect that she would answer him with a question of her own. I'd like it if you can drop the honorific when referring to me. Why? The other party is his employer, not to mention a princess. No matter how disappointing she is, it would be bad if he forgot to be polite when he addresses her. Well, I mean. How do I say this? You don't need to be unnecessarily formal around me, and I don't want to lose to that woman. In the last battle, That stalker woman made you stop using honorifics with her, right? Her Highness has been bitter about that a while now. I see. Kaisai gave a half-hearted reply while wondering why she would feel that way, but Saki's words seemed to hold true as Schlier turned away with a flushed face. Besides, I already understand that I'm not someone so great that you should always be polite with ... After all, I'm a knight who can't even make it to the battle in time. Seeing Schlier confessing her feelings as her expression gets cloudier and cloudier, Kaisai thinks about what she's talking about for a moment. It seems that she regrets the fact that she could not join the decisive battle in time. Even so, she was being held back by the enemy elite Imperial Knights, so it's natural that she couldn't make it. Besides, Kaisai is quite grateful to her that she managed to keep away the Imperial Knights, who would undoubtedly be quite a formidable opponent if they were around to defend the battleships back then. Both I and Schlier did what we had to do. That's why we won. I don't think that you should feel any regret over it, you know. Kaisai stopped choosing honorifics and replied, if this can make her feel better, then it's a simple thing to do. But Schlier's gaze shifts alternately between Kaisai and Saki. It's supposed to be a celebration, so she doesn't want to show her pitiful sight. That's why she shoved all the negative feelings back inside and nodded to them with a smile. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Seeing Schlier's state, Kaisai let out a small sigh. It seems that she's not entirely convinced yet. He can understand her feelings, so he decided to not pursue the topic. So about the war situation. It's mostly quiet now. Perhaps they were shocked to lose that many battleships in the last battle. They did not make any move at all. It's something like a stalemate. I've been doing nothing but training for a while now too. I see. Kaisai nodded. Since both sides normally cannot make any big move after a big battle, this is usually the case after a major operation. Come to think of it, what about Her Majesty? I remember that their Glorious S bridge was hit. Is she safe? Yes, well, my mother did suffer a serious injury, but there's no danger to her life. Right now she's being treated at the hospital inside the Kapi, the Imperial Hospital, the same one you were at, Kaisai-san. She can't continue to command the war with such an injury after all. That hospital. I thought that it's amazing, but I didn't know that it was the royal family's exclusive too. Fortunately, his treatment cost was covered by the Empire. After all, if they charge him later, he would not be able to pay for it. Still, this has made me the supreme commander of the Kalanshan army. I left the actual command to the original staff officers though. The staff officers are rushing back and forth from the headquarters to there. Radiant, and Solana and her subordinates are busy every day because of that. To Schlier, who knows that she lacks the ability to be a supreme commander, this gives her quite a heavy feeling as well. That must have been had. Yes, with a long sigh, Schlier continued eating her rice. Fortunately, I will leave for a mission soon. I think it's a chance that I can finally spread my wings. Is it a business trip? I haven't heard anything about this. Are you going to scout out the enemy, Your Highness? It's not that big of a mission. I'm just going to purchase some supplies for the army. I'm going to visit the Kushal system. Have you heard of it? A big trading hub of this region is located there. That place. Kaisai was also familiar with her destination. The Kushal system is a star system where many starways intersect, making itself the center of trade in this region. Since many trading companies open their offices there, as long as you have the money, it is easy to negotiate deals and procure ammunition and food supplies there. I've frequented that place before. Compared to the other star systems in this region, I think I am most familiar with this one. Schlier's eyes shinned. Then if it's alright with Kaisai-san, do you want to come with me? I'm going there with a high-speed starship belong to the army. I can find a seat for you. What? So unfair. Then please take me with you. While smiling bitterly at Saki, Kaisai agreed to accompany Schlier to Kushal. There's actually a restaurant I often visited on that planet. So, if it's fine with you, can we visit it together? Schlier and Saki raised their voice at the same time. Saki tried to say something, but she was interrupted by Schlier, who jumped up from her seat. Is that okay? Well, yes, by all means. Please take me with you. Idit. Schleer breaks out into a dance at the unexpected windfall while Saki looked at Kaisai with a bitter expression. Oi, take me too. No. Why? Saki pouted at Kaisai's blunt refusal. There's something that can only be done there by just two people. Depending on how you take his reply, it could be interpreted as a love confession. However, Kaisai's eyes do not contain that kind of feeling. Rather, he seems to have a hard time asking Schleer to visit the place with him. Thinking that he might have some kind of circumstances, Saki did not press any further. Seriously, there's no helping it then. Sorry. The two talked in a small voice, but Schleer, who has been celebrating since earlier, did not notice their exchange. Seeing that, Saki let out a deep sigh. Ch45. The man who never learned his lesson. After finishing the meal, Kaisai and Saki headed for the hangar. Schleer is not with them since she needs to discuss our future course of action with her staff, and she was forcibly dragged away to a strategy meeting by Solana earlier. So you were discharged from the hospital. Glad to have you back. The chief mechanic in charge of the Caliburn Revive greeted the two. While bearing a bitter smile on her soot-stained face, she urges them to come closer with one hand. Hey there. I heard that the cockpit was a mess, right? Must have been hard on you. With the blood from Kaisai's damaged internal organs, the cockpit of the Caliburn Revive should appear almost like a murder scene. The staff that has to clean it must have it hard. No, it's nothing much at all. This is much better than seeing it come back as scrap metals. The inside seems to be in perfect condition after all. Well, ha. It's embarrassing that you had to see that, but I'm back. Kaisai shyly laughed. Actually, something like this is not the first time for me. I'm pretty much used to getting hospitalized. You see. You always end up like that after every big battle. Saki squinted. Among striker pilots, it is not common to have their internal organs damaged by G-force. Setting aside the experimental strikers with maximized output setting, their Caliburn Revive was designed with versatility and ease of use in mind. If Saki pilots it, she would be completely fine even while accelerating at full speed. Machines designed by Vold usually have over-the-top specs after all. It's not just this one striker, said Kaisai while looking at the pure white striker fixed to the maintenance bay. If a Terran pushes a striker's output to the limit, it will easily wreck their body, you know. Well, I'm physically weaker than your average Terran, so it's even worse for me though. I've heard something about that before. It seems that the strikers designed for Terrans have their specs toned down quite a bit, right? From our point of view, your race is much tougher than ours after all. It's natural that we would want to lower the specs. Unless Terrans undergo a cybernetic surgery which is prohibited by law, they would never be able to win against Vold physically. It's no wonder that they would have higher standards when it comes to the safety of their weapons. I get it now. I was actually puzzled about this for quite some time. What are you talking about? Hearing the chief mechanic's muttering, Kaisai asks her what she's talking about. Well, it's about your battle data, Kaisai-san. Honestly, it looked quite strange to me. I mean, with the kind of movement he pulled during battle, it's no wonder that the data would look strange, right? Rushing into the enemy main fleet and overturning the battle by himself. That's not something a normal person can do, Saki said in an astonished tone. However, the chief mechanic replied that that's not the case. The strange part was the operating output. You see, the output rate shown on the data was impossibly low. If I take a look at this data without knowing the circumstances, then I would have thought that their Caliburn Revive was piloted by an amateur pilot who couldn't make full use of its power. You see, if I utilize the full specs, then I'll definitely die, so his life would be in danger even with the full output of standard mass-produced strikers. What would happen if he operated as Zenith at full power is clear as day. Somehow, it feels like this thing is wasted on you, huh? Still. I think saying something like that to a person who's stronger than me is disrespectful though. Saki has already accepted the fact that Kaisai is a stronger pilot. Unlike Schleer, who tends to have a lot on her mind, Saki's way of thinking is quite flexible. If Kaisai is physically stronger as well, she wouldn't find him cute. But not only is Kaisai extremely weak physically, he's totally defenseless as a man. To pay him back for looking out for her on the battlefield, Saki thinks that she should protect Kaisai from all the thirsty beasts around him as much as he did for her during battle. Well, it's true after all. Unfortunately, I do feel bitter about it too. You see, If my body is a little stronger, then I should be able to do more. That's what I'm always thinking. Stop it. The more you can do, the more you'd want to push yourself. You are that type of person. It's enough as you are now. You think so? Kaisai frowned and crossed his arms. I mean, you've already pushed yourself too far in the last battle, right? By the time we arrived, you were already seriously injured. I couldn't even see you back then. I was worried, you know. There's no helping it, right? If I didn't do it, we would have lost. Back then, the only way to turn the table was to trust in my guts and rush in. I had to use everything I could. Saki frowned at Kaisai's statement. After all, if she's put in the same situation, she would have done the same even if she had to sacrifice her life. It's better that you don't do that anymore, you know. I would have trouble wondering if I should laugh or cry if a pilot dies when the striker is completely unharmed. After all, even if you say that. Besides, reducing the burden on pilots is the job of us mechanics, don't you agree? Interrupting what Kaisai wanted to say, the chief mechanic said in a bright voice. That's why when you were away, I've made some modifications to their Caliburn Revive. I adjusted it according to the feedback you gave and the battle data from the previous battle. You can even call it the Kaisai Custom, you know. Kaisai Custom? Seeing the chief mechanic proudly presenting her work, Kaisai gulped. CH-46. Improvements on the White Rabbit. First, please take a look at this. You can see a small device on the shoulders of Caliburn Revive, right? Looking at it now, there are certainly small unfamiliar shield-like devices on both shoulders of the Caliburn Revive. They are being held by thin binding arms that reach over from the back. It seems that the devices have a considerable range of movement. An armor plate? No, I think that's too small to be one. What are they? Saki asked with a curious expression. Just like Kaisai, she is also a striker nerd. Even though it is someone else's striker, she'd naturally get curious about new equipment. Anti-missile laser turrets, the chief mechanic proudly answered. These devices have multiple low-power laser oscillators embedded on their surfaces. When the radar detects incoming missiles, they will automatically start intercepting protocol and shoot them down. I see. Did you get this idea from the time I piloted there? Gradius Kai? The first time Kaisai encountered Valentina, their Gradius Kai was severely damaged by their Orthocrats micro-missiles. Blaster beams and bullets are easy to avoid since they travel in a straight line, but missiles that automatically track their targets are difficult to deal with even for him. As you know, there aren't many strikers that have anti-aircraft missiles equipped. Its cost is too high and even aristocrats would have a bad image if they use such a weapon. That's why conversely, strikers usually don't come equipped with anti-missiles equipment. The only one who actually prefers using missiles is our princess alone, I think. Saki grinned as her gaze turned toward Schlier's personal striker, there, Miss Tiltwine, which is fixed on a nearby maintenance bay. Although she often says that she's a knight, the striker she pilots is literally rugged walking artillery arsenal. Normally, an aristocrat's striker is often designed for close-quarter combat, though. That striker was designed with a certain concept in mind. You see, since ours is a small country, it necessitates Her Highness to be able to deal with a large number of enemies by herself. After all, the chief mechanic defended Schlier with a bitter smile. Since she's not just the chief mechanic here but also a member of the Imperial Engineering Department, she's also involved in ordering supplies and refurbishing there, Miss Tiltwine, as well. Aside from that, the reason that missiles are unpopular is that against your average striker, a blaster beam is sufficient enough to take them down. That being said, it seems that this kind of weapon works surprisingly well against you, Kaisai-san. It's pretty simple to avoid and parry normal bullets after all. No, I think that's pretty damn difficult though. Hearing Kaisai says such a thing like it's nothing much for him, Saki mutters in a small voice. Well, but it is still true that missiles can give Kaisai-san a lot of trouble on the battlefield. If I were a Norwegian commander, I'd equip every striker under my command with missiles to deal with him, you know. Kaisai-san is not an opponent that you can spare your expense against after all. I've had many bad experiences because of that actually. It was seriously tough dealing with them. You say that, but you are still completely safe though. Well, I'm Hokuto Kaisai after all. The name, Wicked Star, is not just for show, you know. After displaying a smile brimming with confidence, Kaisai continued. But it will certainly be a lot easier for me with this kind of equipment. How much can I count on it? Of course, this device should be plenty enough to deal with most things already. Its design is based on the device that shoots down small debris on transport ships. I think I can say that it is ready to be used in actual combat. As though she had been waiting for him to ask that question, the chief mechanic answered. Laser-based weapons that only deal damage through heat usually have a bad affinity with regenerative armor, but missiles do not have that kind of protection. This is especially true for micro-missiles, so I think it will be quite effective against them. Regenerative armor can convert heat into electricity at high efficiency, so a low-power laser is practically ineffective against it. The blaster beam, on the other hand, may simply appear like charged particles, but it actually works like an ultra-high-speed bullet, since the charged particles have the property of increasing its mass as it accelerates. The heat damage caused by it is merely a side effect. That's good to hear. Cool, right? But this is not all you know. There's more. Faster than Kaisai could reply, Saki raised her voice. It makes one wonder whose striker is being modified here. To make this short, I have attached a bayonet to the blaster rifle. I've seen that you often go into close quarters with your rifle after all. As she said, there was a large single-edged sword attached to the underbarrel of the rifle of the Caliburn Revive. It doesn't look exactly like the bayonet knife used by infantry, but it's long enough to be used as a short sword by itself. Naturally, it was designed for ease of movement, so it should be easy to attach or detach it on the battlefield. Its uses should be quite flexible, so please try it out later. It seems pretty useful for an ambush and surprise attack, doesn't it? I will thankfully use it in the next battle. This one looks pretty nice. Can I get one to attach to my submachine gun too? With her eyes glittering, Saki stepped forward with her request. Her striker is specialized in close combat. It would give her a great advantage to be able to quickly shift from long-range to close-range weapons. Your submachine gun, is it? I think that it will feel awkward to handle though. Well, I will discuss it with the other team later. The chief mechanic seems slightly hesitant, but she did not ignore her pilot's request. Although the modification of the Dainsleif is completely outside of her jurisdiction, she still has some connections with the team in charge. For now, it seems that she will get in contact with the Dainsleif team later. Back to the Caliburn Revive. I think that should be it for the visible changes. The rest of the changes should be internal, but the biggest change would be to the capacitor of the inertial control system. It seems that the chief mechanic still has more to say. Thinking that she and her team must have put a lot of time and effort into the remodeling, Kaisai keeps listening with a cheerful smile. CH-47, the Princess, go all out. At the fifth planet in the Kushal system, Kushal Secundus. This planet that is slightly smaller than Earth was terraformed, albeit terraform may not be an accurate term, as the technology used was not based on Earth, and made habitable. This Kushal Secundus is a large spaceport that serves as a trading hub in this area. At the third spaceport of Kushal Secundus, a small high-speed spacecraft bearing the Kalanchian coat of arms is parked on the mega-float city set up in the middle of the ocean. I'm a little leery. At the pier in front of the ship, Kaisai muttered while gazing at the night sky. He's meeting up with Schlier. She had left the ship yesterday to negotiate with the trading companies here. According to the schedule, she should be back soon. They are supposed to head to the restaurant he mentioned to her. After this, it would be nice if I can head out for a little walk. To think that it would be another house arrest once we arrived. There's a limit to what I can do to kill time, you know. Due to Schlier's strict order, Kaisai was prohibited from going out. As the city prospers in trade, the public order here is not that good. Just in case, Schlier doesn't want him to go out by himself. However, Kaisai is unamused by this. The wharf usage fee at the third spaceport is cheap, so Kaisai, who frequently travels around using affordable passenger ships, is quite familiar with this place. He knows how to safely travel around here. Seriously. I'm not some sheltered young lady, alright. Hey, as Kaisai was complaining to himself, a person called out to him. When he turned to look, he found a woman in grey work clothes standing there. She's wearing a cap that's hiding her eyes and he can't make out her face, but her identity is clear as day. Makishima-san, aren't you supposed to be on there, Radiant? With that characteristic black-haired ponytail, there's no way that he can mistake her for someone else. It's Saki. She immediately puts a finger on her mouth and speaks to him in a small voice. You idiot, There's no way I can leave a defenseless guy like you alone, right? I snuck on board the ship. Saying so, she pointed at the high-speed spacecraft that Kaisai traveled here on. On this small ship. How did no one spot you? Hee. I have some acquaintances, you see. I made them help me. I mean well, for you to go out of your way to snuck on board a ship, do I look that unreliable to you? Kaisai squinted as he asked her that question. Schlier's the same. There sure are a lot of people who are worried for him these days. He does feel grateful for their feelings, but he couldn't help but think that they are being overprotective. Well, yeah. Outside of a striker, you're practically like a newborn chick after all. I can see you getting hauled away by some random thugs here, you know. That much? It's true that he's physically very weak, so it's difficult for him to make a counter-argument, but he still can't hide the shock from the way she said it. Also, it's too dangerous for you to be left alone with that pervert. What would you do if she slipped something into your food? I mean, Her Highness is not the type of person who would do that, right? There are times that she acts like a pervert, though. It's not like a pervert, she's literally a pervert. Besides, there are times that we can't control ourselves even when we want to. You know, for women. It might be impossible for a man to understand, though. Well, leaving the chaste Vul gentleman aside, Kaisai is a Terran. That being said, it's not like he can't understand what Saki tried to say. He's used to it now, but when he first became a mercenary, there were times that he succumbed to temptation. He managed to escape in the end, though. Anyway, take this. Make sure to hold on to it, all right? Saying so, Saki handed him a plainly designed pen. Kaisai examines it as he takes it in his hand, but he doesn't spot anything unusual about it at all. It's something like a personal alarm. If you press the button, it will send a signal to my mobile terminal. Just press it when you think that it's getting dangerous for you. I will go rescue you immediately. You brought something amazing again. I don't think that I will have a chance to use it, but I will take up on your kindness. Thanks. Kaisai can't help but think that she's being overprotective, but he understands that her action came purely from her goodwill. That's why he obediently accepted it and tucked it into the arm pocket of his flight jacket. Good. Her Highness should be back soon. See you later. Saki glanced at the pier and returned to the ship. There should be many crew members on board the ship, but it doesn't look like Saki has any intention to hide from them at all. It seems that she does have a lot of acquaintances helping her. Kaisai let out a small sigh. Then, just like Saki said earlier, after a few minutes of waiting, Schlier arrived. Hi. Thank you for waiting, Schlier said with a clearly tense voice. Moreover, her clothes are different than usual. She's wearing a dark blue hakama and teal-colored huri. For footwear, she's wearing Tsuroman-style boots. This white-haired girl in Japanese clothes looks extremely beautiful under the moonlight. Tsuroman style is the fashion trend mixing the Tzu era of Japan and Western influences. See below. Hakama, huri, outer layer. Why? You sure poured a lot of effort into this, didn't you? Kaisai said, while cold sweat dripped down his back. How is it? I heard that we are going to visit a Japanese restaurant, so I bought them in a spur of the moment. I think you look very cool. Yup, I will surely stick out standing next to you. Even more so when she dressed like that and walked around with him who's in his usual clothes. Their destination doesn't have a dress code, so they will probably stand out there as well. Imagining such scenarios, Kaisai groaned. I did it! ! That's not it. It won't be like that at all, you know. I mean, Kaisai-san looks very cute after all. Rather, I would be laughed at if I stood next to you since we are so out of balance. How troubling. That's just stupid. If Schlier just stayed silent, she would be one of the most beautiful girls he has ever seen. If someone told them that they looked out of balance, then surely the cause is definitely not her. However, given the rarity of finding a young man in a place like this and his appearance, Schlier is the correct one here. Well, let's leave that aside, shall we? After she said that in a loud voice, Schlier offered him her hand. We are going to hold hand. I mean, as a lady, I thought that I should properly escort Kaisai-san in an occasion like this, Schlier replied while her porcelain white cheeks were dyed bright red. Seeing her like that, Kaisai can only smile. I will be the one who guides you though. Wow. That's true. Seeing that her cheeks turned even redder than before, Kaisai let out a small sigh. Well, whatever. Let's go. After taking her hand, Kaisai started walking. Shocked, Schleer, whose inside of the head has already turned pure white, could only move her feet to follow him. CH-48, the princess, was made to cry. It took them around 30 minutes to arrive at the restaurant. They then were guided to their reserved seats, which is a small private room with tatami mats flooring. Inside, there's a stationary stove installed on a traditional Japanese tile table. TLN. The table here is a horogotatsu where the floor beneath the table is hollowed out. This is a sukiyaki place, you see. It's kind of my favorite food. Sukiyaki, Schleer gulped as she stared at the flat-bottom pot set on the stove. It's your favorite? This dish? Rather than mine, it's actually my mother's favorite. The taste of sukiyaki here is kind of similar to what we used to eat together, so ... I think it makes me feel nostalgic too. Then ... let's dig in. I'm looking forward to this. Saying so, Schleer brings the meat from her plate to her mouth. This place doesn't use any luxurious organic meat, but the chef here is quite skilled. You can enjoy good sukiyaki here without worrying about the price tag. For a while, the two chat and enjoy their meal together. Fumu, this thing ... I think it will go well with Japanese alcohol. What do you think, Kaisai-san? Schleer asked while checking what's on the menu. In response, Kaisai shakes his head. Actually, I'm super weak with alcohol, so, in the first place, albeit barely, Kaisai is still a minor. He has almost no experience with alcohol. At most, it would be when he drank one by mistake. Ah, is that so? My apology. Ha ha ha. Schleer did not press him to drink with her and simply used the button to call a waiter to order 2 more large servings of rice. You are not going to drink? Drinking alone is no fun, you know. My bad. Please, it's okay. I have more than enough fun eating with you like this. Following that, even without the benefit of alcohol, Schleer laughed in an extremely good mood. Seeing that, Kaisai cast his eyes down. Actually, he did not invite her to have fun today. He has something to talk to her about. What is it? Did I, perhaps, say something wrong? Schleer anxiously asked. However, Kaisai simply smiled and waved his hand sideways to dismiss her anxiety. No, it's not like that. Actually, the reason I invited your highness here today is that ... I want to have a serious discussion with you. So I'm a little ... I see. There are a lot of matters that come to her mind. Her expression stiffens as she urges him to continue. As I thought, is it about our last battle ... The Battle of Liboya? Well, that's correct. But I want to talk about what happened before that as well, said Kaisai as he folded his arms. I have caused Kaisai-san a great deal of trouble. It's a knight's shame to not even be able to make it to such a decisive battle. As though their earlier good mood together flew off somewhere, Schleer looked away with a self-loathing expression. That's exactly what I want to talk about. It doesn't matter that you didn't make it in time. Rather, everything turned out alright in the end. If such a skilled striker unit was escorting the enemy battleships, I wouldn't have been able to sabotage them to that extent after all. Kaisai openly stated his thoughts as he stared at Schleer. Leaving aside the initial attack he performed when they first joined the battle, he did not have to engage with the enemy Imperial Knight at all. However, he could tell that they were elites among elites. If Schleer and Saki hadn't stopped them back then, they would have joined up with their main fleet. Both your highness and Lieutenant Makishima has done your part and the operation resulted in success. I am not trying to cheer you up here, I'm simply stating the facts. But ... Kaisai-san was seriously injured in the end. A knight who couldn't protect someone who should be protected is. You see, I'm not someone who needs protecting, at the very least, not while I'm piloting a striker. As if to cut her words, Kaisai decisively stated so. It's not like I'm a princess, no. Listen, I'm no prince, I am a pilot. I'm here to fight on a battlefield, not being protected by my employer. That apostrophe s. Certainly true, but tears slowly drip down from Schleer's eyes. Feeling that, she roughly wipes them with her hand. All that comes to her mind are her pathetic moments. Even though she has already displayed this pitiful sight to him once, she was elated when he invited her out for a meal. Feeling a tremendous amount of self-hatred, Schleer's bitter at how simple she is. I'm sorry. I couldn't be more pathetic. Schleer was trying to stop her tears, but instead, her tear ducts started flooding more due to her shame and embarrassment. Now, her face is a mess and her tears drip to the table. There's one thing I want you to know and one thing that I want to hear from you. May I? At his gentle voice, Schleer turned her gaze back to Kaisai. His black pupils are staring straight at her. She cannot feel any intention to ridicule or take pity on her from his eyes. What is it? It's the root of this matter, the core of your worry, Kaisai says in a quiet but sharp voice. Mine and your reasons to fight. That's what we should know about each other to solve your worries, Your Highness. CH-49. A Tale and the Intelligence Agency. This is getting more serious than I expected, Saki muttered to herself in a small voice while putting her finger on the small speaker in her ear. She's currently hiding in an unpopulated back alley near the restaurant. For her appearance, she is wearing a black suit, a black fedora, and although it's already nighttime, she's also wearing sunglasses for some reason. Furthermore, as though that doesn't look suspicious enough, there's also a Japanese sword hanging at her waist. Something he wants to say and one question he wants to ask her. I wonder While she was muttering to herself, a group of women in suits soundlessly snuck up to her. The moment Saki noticed she was already surrounded by them. Wow, who are you? Saki herself is not an amateur either. It is no easy task to sneak up on her like that. That's why she raised her voice and her hand was immediately placed on the grip of her sword. We are with the Imperial Intelligence Agency. Lieutenant Makishima Saki, correct? What are you doing here? Replied a middle-aged woman with a vigilant expression that betrayed her appearance. At the same time, she also flashes her ID to Saki with one hand to give credit to her identity. It appears that the ID was not forged. Oh, what? Same side, huh? Saki sighed in relief and let go of her sword. She thought that it was a group of local mafia or police at first, but since they turn out to be Kalanshin soldiers, she has no intention to fight. Not so fast, Lieutenant. According to your order, are you not supposed to be on standby at their Radiant right now? It's clear that you've snuck on board Her Highness's spacecraft. It would not be a stretch to put you under suspicion of being a spy. No, come on. I swear to God I'm not doing anything of the sort. Saki replied with a shrug. Since she doesn't think that she's done something bad at all, her conscience remains guilt-free even when under such an allegation. So, are you guys here to escort Her Highness and Kaisai? That's right. Seeing no reason to lie about their mission, the middle-aged woman answered. I'm doing something similar myself. Here, listen to this. Saying so, Saki tossed the small speaker she had in her ear at the middle-aged woman. When she puts it on with a doubtful expression on her face, a familiar voice can be heard from the speaker. It's Kaisai and Schlier's voices. This is. I secretly gave Kaisai a bugging device. If something goes wrong I can go over and rescue him, you see. This was another hidden function of the pen she gave to Kaisai earlier. The alarm is actually just the bonus. This here is its real function. If Schlier makes a move on Kaisai, it's more than likely that Kaisai won't even have the chance to push the button after all. My purpose here is rather similar to yours. The person I am most wary about is Her Highness though. Wait, but, that's... The middle-aged woman turned speechless as she turned to look at her subordinates. What Saki said is not an impossibility. However, is that not too rude toward her own princess? Her Highness would never do something like that. Even if you say that, she's already tried to force her way into his room once, you know. I managed to stop her in time though. Wah! Exclaimed a young intelligence officer. Her beast ears also pointed up in an excited state. I'm so jailed. I mean, how shameful. Come to think of it, I think I saw Her Highness lecherously stare at that mercenary before too. Honestly, I doubt she can keep her sanity while being alone in the same room with such a cute man. The intelligence officers started mouthing off their opinions. Hearing them, the middle-aged woman coughed lightly. Won't you stop? That's disrespectful to Her Highness. Even while her mouth said that, her expression still remained unconvinced. After all, it's true that Schlier does have a habit of running out of control. Her Highness is a No, she's a prudent person. She wouldn't lose control just because of a man's sex appeal. But, Chief, a young intelligence officer who seems to have completely taken Saki's side protested, but the middle-aged woman stopped her by raising her hand. But they are still a man and a woman. Accidents can happen sometimes and the man will always be the victim. Giving up. The chief looked up at the night sky visible through the gap between the building. There's a huge gap between Vald men and women in terms of physical strength. There is no man who can resist if he gets pushed down by a Vald woman. I have a son who's around that mercenary's age. I don't want him to suffer a bad experience. If it comes to that, then we will cooperate with you. Saying so, the chief returned the small speaker to Saki. After receiving it back and putting it on, Saki grins. I know I can count on you, but the fact that you violated your order still stands. I will have to report this to the higher-up, said the chief in a cold voice. Hearing that, Saki looked like she was splashed with cold water. Why, you don't have to do that, right? Cut me some slack here. Well, it will only end with some admonition and a reflection report. Don't worry. How can I not? Do I look like the type that's good at writing that kind of report? Oh, I can tell that you aren't. The intelligence officers around them burst out laughing at the chief's reply. CH-50, ego. Why do you think I continue to make a living on battlefields? I've already paid off my debt. My parents' house was bought back with the advance payment from this job. Even so, I still haven't quit being a mercenary. Do you know why? Kaisai asks in a quiet and gentle voice. With tears in her eyes, Schlier tries to think of an answer. However, she couldn't find any. Surely, it isn't about money. Rather, she notices that he's the type that couldn't care less about such a thing. Even though they haven't known each other that long, she can tell that much. I don't know, Schlier replied with a shaky voice. Seeing that, Kaisai took out tissue paper from a pocket in his flight jacket and handed it to her with a bitter smile. Schliering received the tissue and sloppily blew her nose into it. To be completely honest, the reason I continue working as a mercenary is that it's the only job that can satisfy my ego. Ego? Yes, I guess you can call it selfish desire too. Hearing an unexpected answer, Schlier stays silent. The word desire should be able to paint a vivid picture for her, but she still doesn't understand him. He doesn't seem to be the type to fight for greed after all. I've said this many times before. I hate seeing people die. I've told you right. I can see the manifestation of human emotions through their icon system, said Kaisai as he looked out the window. Schlier on the other hand takes that chance to quietly blow her nose again. Since it's a kill or be killed situation, everyone desperately fights with their lives on the line. Everyone is desperate to live. The emotions that I feel on the battlefield ... they are strong, intense, and honestly very fascinating. But is that not a cruel hobby? That's what she's about to say, but the expression on Kairoi's face was so calm that Schlier couldn't bring herself to continue. When people die on the battlefield, those intense emotions will disappear in an instant. Don't you think that it is a waste? The heated feelings inside people's hearts, the weight behind them, everything would immediately turn to nothing in just a moment, you know. I cannot allow that. Returning his gaze to Schlier, Kaisai smiled a little. Being a mercenary has its perks. Even if I don't kill anyone, no one can give me any trouble if I do my job right. No matter what absurd methods I use, I can silence everyone as long as I can keep producing results. A person belonging to an organization cannot afford that kind of freedom. So, Kaisai-san is saying that you fight because you don't want people to die? That's right. I want to save as many lives as possible. I'm strong, so the more I fight, the fewer people will have to die. Besides, if I keep incapacitating the enemy's vessels without killing the pilots, the damage to my ally would lessen too, right? Someone that's not on Kaisai's level of skills would never be able to live up to such an ideal. Still, the fact stands that he did manage to turn the tide of battle all by himself. Only outsiders would be able to shamelessly complain about his method. Even so ... you pushed yourself too far. It was like you were fighting to save your enemy at the cost of yourself. To be honest, I couldn't stand to see it. Schlier squeezed out her voice to say that she still remembers Kaisai's reaction when they sank an enemy ship. It clearly impacted him a lot. Not to mention how he launched an attack on the enemy main fleet all by himself. Although he won in the end, his body couldn't keep up with the output of his striker and was on the verge of dying. Someone with your mindset and body is not suitable for fighting ... I can't allow you to. Schlier herself knew best how empty her words sounded. Even if she put her all into it, she would not get anywhere near Kaisai's level. Thinking so, tears flood her eyes. I know that, but it's not something that I can stop doing. It is my ego at work here after all. Instead of comforting her, Kaisai smiles. The reason he didn't try to do such a thing is that he thought it would only be disrespectful to her to try comforting her now. Your Highness, you should pour your heart out here as well. What exactly do you want to do? What do you seek out of fighting? If you can be sincere with me about this, then I will be very grateful. Whatever it is, I will accept it. For a while, Schlier thought about how to answer. I want to be someone who can protect you. No, not that. Kaisai immediately cut her off. making Schleier's eyes wide open in surprise. Don't dress it up. It can be dirty, it can be ugly. If it's truly something you desire, then you mustn't look away. You have to be true to yourself. If you run away from yourself, you will run away all your life. It is something that you need to accept and face it head on. Schleier shut her mouth and closed her eyes. She then took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. I want to show you that I'm strong. I want you to say, wow, you're so cool. Please marry me. That's truly what I want. She's aware that she just made a ridiculously pathetic remark. If you say such a thing out loud, even 100 years of love would get cold. Thinking that Kaisai might be disappointed by her answer, Schleier sneaks a look at him. However, all she saw was a big smile on his face. That's it. That answer is as good as any. Isn't it fine, having that kind of goal? But you are way better than someone who acts all high and mighty while unable to accept themselves. No matter what gets your ego going, someone who is true to themselves is way stronger than someone who's not. After all, as long as you know what you truly want, the harder you will strive to obtain it. Kaisai leaned over and pat Schleier on the shoulder. Since you started accepting what you truly want, you are a little stronger now, Your Highness. Schleier muttered. Before she knew it, her tears had already stopped. That's right. As a person, you have to take small steps to get stronger. To achieve your goals, whatever it may be, you need the ability to overcome your obstacles. After all, hearing his words, Schleier tried to say something to Kaisai. However, earlier than she could, the sliding door to their private room was vigorously opened. I've heard something interesting. With a loud echoing voice, a tall blonde woman in a jet black military uniform appeared in front of them. It's Valentina. Why are you here? TLN. And she appeared. Well, since it's CH.50, I guess we're already 1/6 of the way already, huh?